Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NLC Second Division. I am Luna. I'm joined by Black Bloxer, and today we are bringing you 4 more games of League of Legends, ready and waiting to come to you. Now, yesterday, some teams won, some teams lost, as is the way the game goes, right? It happens. We'll see if any of those teams can bounce back today or keep the momentum going. And in this first game for us, Max, we definitely have a storyline.
Yeah, we do. God Gaming, they had a really rough loss yesterday. I mean, Ruza have not been looking like a good team. They went on to then lose their matchup against Fourth Wall later on in the day, the one game we were unfortunately unable to cover. And so the fact that Garden Gaming lost that one does not feel good. It really it was not a good game for them, unfortunately. Ruza just managed to eke it out after what was a little bit of a crazy early game. It felt like Garden Gaming were always kind of in that one, but Ruse, they were just able to come on through. And so that was pretty impressive to watch. Whereas Rich Gang, they're able to pick up a win against Chaos. And Chaos have been showing some good things and bad things. It was a 40-50 minute banger of a game. It was completely crazy. And so both of these teams having really odd days yesterday. Although obviously Rich Gang going to be a little bit happier with how that one shook out.
Absolutely will. And it'll be interesting to see if Garden Gaming can bounce back off of this little bit of a slump that they've fallen into, or if Rich Gang can keep that momentum going. Typically, from what we've seen of these teams over the last few games that we have been able to see, what are we kind of expecting coming into this game? Is there anything unique, anything a little bit out there, maybe, that isn't so close to the current meta?
So, Kurosh in the mid lane for Rich Gang had a really great day yesterday. Played the Lucian. We talked to him in the interview afterwards, and he was like, yeah, I really haven't practiced the Lucian at all. This was basically first time playing it for a while. Used to be a signature pick, so it's not like it was first timing it ever, but hasn't played it for a really long time. And that's kind of what the whole team was talking about. You know, they picked a lot of sort of out there things. It was a bit of a fun one. When we talked to Kurosh, he was super happy with the result, but also laughing quite a lot. It truly was a crazy game the entire way through. There was a Smolder, there was a Nasus. It was a whole thing if you're interested. Same team, by the way. Nearly won. It was a truly wild experience to watch that one through. But yeah, they were able to pull out through, and so I think we could see something crazy out of Kurosh. Again, if it is the Lucian, that would be great. That being said, unless it's banned, the Tristana was pretty much pick banned the entirety of yesterday. We saw it just the whole time, everybody going again and again with it. It was pretty much always grabbed as that first on the blue side. A couple of teams did end up picking up later, and I think that the Tristana could really shape up a lot of the way that these teams look to draft.
Absolutely, really, really strong in the current meta, and with the fall of Corki in the last couple of patches, Tristana really has risen to be that upper echelon of champions that we see. Not the only AD carry we're seeing in the mid lane, though, right? I mean, if we look towards the more global picture, we're seeing Varus, we're seeing Ezreal, we're seeing all these other AD carries start to come back into this mid lane again to give you the ability to play these AP junglers, and the AP junglers are another factor entirely that are extremely strong in current meta, right? You're looking at Lilia, you're looking at Karthus, you're looking at Brand. Zyra has managed to make an appearance in the jungle. Who would have seen that coming? Because it certainly wasn't me.
I mean, to be fair, people are just running out of things that are AP to put in the jungle at this point with the Zyra. It works, and so fine, we'll play it. I mean, it's so good around those choke points, right? Anytime you could get yourself into a choke point situation around one of the objectives, Baron, Grubs, any of that, it's just such a great tool to be able to have that ult. Just everything that Zyra gives, and she does so much damage when she actually gets full gold. Everybody's had the experience of getting blown up by a Zyra support that has no gold anyway, and so once she's actually farming, got the levels, got the gold in her back pocket, can just annihilate entire teams. It's really fascinating to see, and, you know, I don't think we're going to see it today, but if we do, I'm going to be very excited for it.
Yeah, I think it brings a new spin to the game, especially with how early you can do some objectives. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Does seem like we'll be into draft shortly. A couple of issues cropping up there. So we will get into that very, very soon. But is there anything else that you're maybe expecting to maybe rise in priority, or if not rise in priority, replace something that is banned away? So for example, if that Tristana is gone, is there anything that we think maybe one of these teams might just pull out of nowhere?
I mean, in terms of things coming out of nowhere, I've not been massively surprised recently. I think that, the Syndras, the Orianas, the Nikos, all of those in the mid lane could be really interesting. I think it's not actually the mid lane where I'm going to be too surprised. I think it's actually the top lane where we've been getting a lot more crazy things coming out. Although yesterday we did see a lot of the Cassante, a lot of the Ornn. Actually, a lot of Ornns picked into Cassante where they then went on to not have the best time. So I'll be really interested to see if that's what we end up seeing. But yeah, I don't think mid lane's going to be too out there. Obviously, it can happen, but with things like the Hui taken off of the board, that's kind of the ones I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool to see in the mid lane. With that away, I think if we don't see a Tristana ban, if RG don't first pick it, I would be very surprised.
Absolutely. With the double AD carry ban coming in as well from the side of Garden Gaming, the Ezreal and the Caitlyn taken away. Caitlyn still quite exceedingly strong in that AD carry position if you can get it. The resources, the Ezreal, another one of these flexible AD carries. Rich Gang, the ones to ban the Tristana themselves, which is an interesting step forwards, and the Corki is gone as well. So that is 4 AD carries / 4 mid laners taken off of the board here. Generally, we'll see what the first pick coming through for Rich Gang is, and it is just going to be that Lucian again for what I would assume to be for Korosh.
Yeah, Korosh looked super good on it yesterday. I mean, basically the whole game was just he'd step up, he'd 100-0 someone with the culling, usually the Corki on the other team, they were just gone. And then they'd go from there. It nearly wasn't enough because, again, there was a Nasus, there was a Smolder, it was a whole thing. But his team won because he was there on that Lucian. So I really liked that pickup. Garden Gaming, though, they're going to respond with Sejuani picked up really early on in this draft. I like it a lot. We've been seeing quite a lot of the more aggressive junglers, either AP or AD. I just like the big tanky Sejuani in the jungle, going to be able to provide a lot of support, and the Varus has been getting banned quite a lot recently, so very interesting to see that one slip through and be picked up pretty much immediately. It does have an okay time into the Lucian as long as you go the poke variant, because you can sit quite far back, although, like we said, we're not really expecting the Lucian to be in the bot lane, but it's always a possibility.
Well, this Varus could also go into the mid lane, right? Yeah. There is that angle on things as well, although it is worth mentioning poke Varus has been kind of taken out of the meta a little bit with his mini rework that he got recently, where you actually, when you kill a unit or kill a champion, the stats you gain now AD or AP scaling on attack speed specifically. So definitely taking away from that that thought process of just gonna go lethality, just gonna sit a mile away, ping an arrow at your face and watch your health bar vanish, and the Kai'Sa lock in. We're still really none the wiser as to which one's going where. Let's be honest here.
If we hadn't have seen it yesterday, absolutely. Obviously, with having seen it, I think we are going to end up with this Kai'Sa down in the bottom lane. I really like the Kai'Sa at the moment. She's so strong, can just do so much. We did, however, see yesterday Kai'Sa struggle quite a lot when they were in the face of a lot of dive potential. There was a Vi and a Camille in the same game, and that just made it very tricky to play the Kai'Sa. It was getting jumped every single time. So at the moment, with the Gwen, with the Lucian, that does not give you a lot of support. These are not champions that can buy you space as a Kai'Sa whatsoever. So that's definitely something that RG are going to have to focus in the upcoming rounds. We are going to also see that Victor lock in. You've got a lot of your damage sorted out at this point for Garden Gaming. They're definitely going to need a little bit more in terms of the pure engage, but Sejuani is definitely a good start, and I really like this Nautilus ban. The Nautilus is kind of the best thing to pair up with the Kai'Sa. We've also been seeing a lot of Rels, and more than that, a lot of Leonas at the moment. The Leona's looking really strong, and the Solar Flare has just been that engage tool for people. You just pop it down onto the backline. Even if it just slows, it's a great way to start off a fight.
Certainly is. It's essentially what we're looking at is a lot of non-committal engage coming out. That's where strengths lie. Sejuani, Leona Ultimate, also kind of that non-committal side of things. Maokai, another champion that is notorious for this non-committal engage. You can throw out one of these abilities, and if it doesn't land, you've not really lost anything, right? Yeah. You have that freedom to play around. And not only that, but, I mean, the Sejuani, it's going to play a pretty solid frontline for this Victor Varus combo. You also have the Chain of Corruption, which is another one of these non-committal ultimates, but you rather use it in Poke. Braum and Leona all taken away as well, alongside that Ashe to just kind of cull any thoughts of going a double Poke bot lane into this Kai'Sa, which would make the game that much harder to play out from there. The other nice thing about Kai'Sa is it's very flexible in its build path, right? You can go the like the mixed damage on hit AP variant, where you then just start firing Ws the later into the game you go. You've got your full crit variant, you've got your full AP variant. There are so many different things you can do into so many different things, and into this double tank, I'm expecting to see the mixed damage build come through, especially when in the hands of Metro Archer, a player known for their proficiency in the likes of Kai'Sa.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of things to put with it, the Alistar is kind of the only one. They're just going to beat me to it with the hover, but it's the only real engage support that's left available. If that's what you want to do, if you want to get aggressive, in terms of that top upper echelon of engage supports, it's kind of the only thing. Maybe a Maokai could have come through at that point, but you're beginning to get into that not S+, not the A tier. Yeah, exactly.
You really want something tanky to go with this because you don't have much frontline. So something like the Rakan that would normally be quite high up there on that priority list, right? You can't take it here because you don't have the frontline to go with it. There's a lot of CC on the enemy team. He goes in, he dies. The Renekton being the next thing to pair with it is Gwen Jungle even? Gwen Jungle.
Okay.
Gwen Jungle has been seeing a rise in priority recently. Is another one of these AP champions that just has very good clear and very good objective take.
Yeah, it is really strong at the moment, but it doesn't give you that much if you begin to fall behind. I feel like I say this all the time, but it's another one of those junglers where you'd better get things going early, and she also falls into the sort of same area as the Wukong, where if you don't get some early ganks off, some kills to get injections of gold, you fall down, but you don't have a way to really set those up for yourself. You don't have the inbuilt CC. That being said, the top lane, the bot lane, they do have some good setup. Not so much the mid lane, but you do have just a metric ton of damage in that mid lane, so it could well be enough to kill what is a very squishy Victor early on. With the Gnar lock-in finally, I really like what Garden Gaming have drafted for themselves here, I gotta be honest. There's some great non-committal engage, like you said, through the Sejuani, through the Varus, but then you've got a lot of hard engage through the Gnar, through the Rel. Those champions like to go flying in, and then you've got plenty of support with your Varus, with that Victor to be able to lay down all of the damage you could use. And if a Gnar can get ahead, that's another one of those damage threats that you can really work around. It's a pretty standard composition. I think it's going to be pretty front to back, not really expecting too many mega changes in that playstyle, other than potentially some big flanks, maybe out of the Rel, maybe out of the Gnar. It's a little bit different to what RG have drafted themselves, where I think it's a lot more about getting an initial pick rather than a straight front to back.
Certainly is, and I mean on the side of Garden Gaming as well, you also are kind of nullifying that fact of the conditional engage that Gnar has by having a solid front to back. You've got a solid two tank front line. You can let the Gnar poke and get rage in a fight rather than having to get it in a side lane and TP in to look for a flank angle. You have the ability to just play it front to back, let the Gnar get it up that way, and go from there. Now, Blockstar, I have to ask, where do you see this game going? Who do you think takes this game number one?
Ooh, I mean, coming into today, I was like, alright, I think that this is going to be a win for Garden Gaming. And then, looking at the drafts, I kind of prefer the Garden Gaming draft. But at the same time, just seeing the way that Kirsch was able to play the Lucian previously makes me a little bit nervy. I'm still going to put my chips on the Garden Gaming side. I think they're going to be pretty mad about that loss yesterday. I think they're better than that loss yesterday, and they have a good draft to be able to show it. But my eyes are definitely going to be on Kurosh to see what he can do with this Lucian, because it looked so good.
It certainly did. And we'll have to see. We should be in-game very, very shortly for you all. And I think I'm in agreement, right? I think Garden Gaming, just at a base level, have a very good composition. But they are the ones lacking momentum coming into the day. And momentum can play such a big factor in how confident you are to go for certain plays, in how strong you are in your decision, like snappy decision making to just, we just go. It can make that massive difference. So if they can still make those decisions very quickly, very snappily, I think everything can go very well for them, especially with the draft they've given themselves. However, if Slice gets snowballing on this Gwen, you suddenly have cause for concern.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a real risk to the way that this draft has been put together right here for Rich Gang, but I think as a team who are sat, further down in the standings, they needed to take a little bit of a flyer on this one, so I like it.
Certainly did, and I do believe the game is now ready for us. Let us get on to the Rift for game number one of the day between Rich Gang and Garden Gaming. We shall see just where this goes shortly, but for now, let's see if there's any level 1 shenanigans.
Yeah, there may well be. Both of these teams are sort of sat around that crush that we've got in the top of the pack. Unique, they've pulled away a little bit. Rich Gang, with the win yesterday, did well for themselves, managed to get themselves into a good spot. They're now ahead of that just sort of mosh pit we've got at 4 and 3. But Garden Gaming, that gives them extra incentive, right, to get themselves above that point, to also try to keep on the coattails of RG and Unique. This is such a crucial matchup between these two, and it's going to be really fascinating to see who can actually take this one. I've said it before, I really want to watch this mid lane, but I don't necessarily think I want to be watching this mid lane during the laning phase. There are potentials for solo kills. Lucian does a ton of damage early on, so can the Victor, and with a little bit of either of these junglers, to be honest, there could be kills here. But I think in terms of just pure aggression in lane, bot lane is going to be our main focus.
Yes, I am largely in agreement there. There's a lot of hard engagement, a lot of ways to just go forwards, just play strong, just hope, or not necessarily hope, but look for specific angles in what they want to be doing. And it seems a little bit of a late invade for a ward as Squidly just going to walk into the face of Kurosh, take a bit of a trade. Kanska can't really walk forwards with the bot lane of Garden Gaming there covering, but a nice little bit of damage to start off this mid lane.
Absolutely, you'd always love to be able to chunk out the Victor, just a little bit. Obviously, this should not be the thing that changes the lane, but already taking quite a lot of damage is this Victor. It makes it a little bit more uncomfortable and does always open up the opportunity for the Gwen to try to get involved in that lane earlier on. Is working down towards the bottom side of the map. I definitely agree with that. However, you do need to be careful to not outgank the champions on your team, right? It's an Alistar. Doesn't have a lot of use pre-level 3. You really need that level 3 to actually be useful in a gank situation. So instead, I think it is just going to be that Raptor to to Krugs, and then just head your way up towards the top side of the map from this Gwen.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, it makes sense, right? The Gwen really doesn't do too much on their own. I mean, you can look to 1v1 the Sejuani, you will have that winning 1v1. But outside of that, it's very kind of, you're relying on everything else going your way. Looking towards the bot lane, just a little bit of pressure being generated for Garden Gaming. As you would expect from an early game Varus into a Kai'Sa, you do have that range advantage as the champion. Looking across the board, it does seem we are looking at reversed paths as well. So we very easily could see something very interesting happen in the near future.
Yeah, quite possibly. Could end up being in the top lane. You know, there is a good amount of setup from this Renekton onto the Gnar. Mini Gnar, although very... Wait, hang on. Is this going to be a solo?
Good flash.
Oh, okay. Typical is just going to have to run here. And with Uzol having no rage, it's going to be quite a while before it's the Mega Gnar, before you're really able to step fully up to this minion wave. Is going to be at least able to step up a little bit. This is a very scary situation for Typical with no flash. We're just saying how maybe you can get the Gwen involved top lane, but that changes the equation a little bit.
Certainly does. It makes things a little bit awkward as things go. I mean, having to lose that flash early as a Renekton into a range matchup feels really bad, right? But it also means you can't set up for Slice, and you were one of the lanes that could set up this jungler. So, I mean, there's potential for a dive. I mean, Uzol has to play quite respectfully. You can't underestimate the early game damage of these two champions, but at the same time, they can try Hellish. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Ermin's engage going to get cancelled away. The knockup onto Hellish. Both junglers looking aggressively in the early stages of this game. Neither really finding much of anything.
No, and that worries me a little bit more for the Gwen than the Sejuani. You're wanting to get as much farming done as the Gwen. Really, when you look for those ganks, you really want them to work out. You want to get some kills. This Gwen is going to be quite reliant on gold and levels to be able to do anything in this matchup, so not going to be ideal. Still, as the Sejuani, you would also love to pick up an initial kill right there. Is actually going to recall and probably run into the Gwen in this jungle. And like you said, the Gwen wins that 1v1.
Yes.
Although, hasn't recalled.
No, she hasn't. It's just going to be the Lucids, though, for Hellish. Dash out over the wall, followed along by the Arctic Assault. One more auto will get the passive, the Permafrost, but it's not enough. Going to be a trade of health bars. Meanwhile, mid lane, another little bit of trading. Kurosh getting the better of these trades, as you would expect from an early game Lucian. Granted, Victor, no slouch either, but this is going to delay Slice's next clear massively.
It really is. It's not what you want to have happen, particularly, although still managing to get some eyes on the Sejuani more than anything. Make sure that your laners know where she's at, know that you can take a quick recall, not going to lose out on too much. And both these junglers now going to be matching each other again as they head down towards this Drake. And with it being Hextech, that's one of the best ones to get individually. You would love to pick this up as either of these teams. Looks like Hellish is going to be heading onto it right now, as Ermin is going to help with pushing through this mid wave. Could potentially have looked for a gank onto Kurosh. Instead, with just shoving this wave through, you're going to draw the Gwen over and get a little bit of extra space for your jungler to take away this objective.
Absolutely. You would expect a trade to be going down normally in this situation. Looks like it's unknown it's going on. Ermin dashing over the wall onto Slice. Nothing going to come of it for now. There isn't really a huge amount of early game damage between these two champions, but Kanska now is going to see that Guardian Gaming are trying something. Metro Archer the first to move. The engage coming in from Kanska is good onto Squidly. Squidly has to flash away. Now the re-engage onto Slice. Slice is going solo. First blow goes across to Squidly. Now the fight can truly start to begin. Retro Archer will trade up onto Hellish, which now means you have smite advantage for this dragon. Looks like it's going to reset. Chasing MKL into the jungle does reset. And Slice isn't even going for it. Slice is going back out onto the top side, going back out for the grub, saying, you know what? We've had the fight. It's been a kill trade. First blood went across. We got something back. I'm just going to go to my top side.
Yeah, exactly. Not going to try for that one again. Really unfortunate situation for Hellish where they were trying to sneak that one away, but an early game Sejuani takes it incredibly slowly. Now potentially would have liked a gank bot lane. Has obviously just walked over a ward. They step up again, they're going to be walking into another one. So Metro Archer, Kansuke, they're aware of what is going on. Instead, I think Hellish is just going to turn back around and head towards this Drake once again. And it will be the trade you usually expect. It's going to be the grubs for the Drake. In this situation, as long as you get the next 3 grubs, I would really prefer this trade for Guardian Gaming. But obviously, as RG, you're not going to be too worried about it.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, when you look at what you've got on your team, right, you're looking at Gwen, you're looking at Renekton, you're looking at Lucian, all these champions have side lane threat. So getting 3 grubs this early on doesn't really cause much issue in the long term, right? You have the ability to play for these plates, play for these side lane towers, and you don't have issue with maybe losing out on a team fight or 2 in the early stages of the game just because you're, you know, lacking a little bit of ability haste or attack speed or whatever it is the dragons give you. Hellish, however, isn't content with just taking the dragon. It's going to steal away this red buff as well.
They're able to do that and then potentially either steal away the chicken, steal away the Krogs, or even just get out. That's going to put the Gwen behind just a little bit extra, or not even behind, get you back to a more even position. Gwen is going to be heading over. Hellish walking into her right now, though, wouldn't be ideal, especially because Slice has that level 6, something that Hellish does not have at this point. Hellish going to recognize that, jump straight on over the wall, and it is going to survive. Will be able to nick away that buff uncontested. That's a great little pickup from Hellish. A really good read of the situation to be able to get that one and get out.
Certainly is, and it stops this Gwen being so sticky, right?
Yeah.
The red buff slow would allow the Gwen to stick so much easier. Meanwhile, top side, Uzal and Typical just going at it with each other. One more hyper proc.
Wow.
If you go Mega and can get the hop over the minions onto Typical, you may just have a kill angle for Uzal. Not quite up just yet. Typical dashing forward. Does land the stun, but it's a trade stun. There's the Dominus into the wall with the Gnar.
Oh,
into the bash. But the healing from the wave is so big. And both will escape with their life. But Kurosh in the mid lane will just solo kill Squidly.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about with Kurosh on this Lucian. Can you believe that this is probably the second Lucian game that he's played in a good couple of months at this point? Seems to be so clean on it right now. Getting a solo kill onto the Victor is huge. The Victor will obviously outscale you, is huge in the late game team fights, but if you can get yourself to 2 items as quickly as possible on this Lucian, you're going to get into such a strong position. Was hitting like an absolute truck yesterday on this same champion. We know that he can play it well, and I do not like the look of this for Guardian Gaming. The second that Kurosh gets a solo kill, also got involved in that assist earlier on, this game just gets harder and harder to play around because Kurosh is going to be able to split push in the side lane or join up with the rest of the team and just be absolutely miserable to try lane against.
Definitely will make things a little bit more difficult across the board. Just a tiny bit, you know,
Yeah.
Not waves and waves harder at this point in the game, but if that snowball does keep rolling it does keep going forwards, it may just take like Nunu and be the biggest snowball ever. Meanwhile, it looks like there is going to be a collapse towards this mid lane. Needle work, first time misses, second time lands, the stun goes down, Needle but lands again. There's so much damage coming out. The smite will secure it, Squidly's fate to the ground.
Oh, this feels a little BM to secure a kill with the smite. Obviously it's not, it's just another tool in your arsenal, but it's something about it that just feels very funny. It's Typical going to get ganked here. Hellish does have that Glacial Prison potentially, so there is a lot of CC available to both of these guys.
It's the try and get on top of Typical without being under tower, though. If you start tanking up that tower as Uzol, there isn't much getting out. Hellish just gonna walk away. Grub's up soon. Stun doesn't quite land. Mega running out. Nothing to be had. Hellish resetting. Grub's up in just under a minute or so now, with the Dragon about a minute and a half out as well. See Slice up towards this top side as well as Hellish moving back out towards the mid lane, so it could go either way. We'll see if there's a fight around these Grubs. I'm expecting there to be. Meanwhile, Rich Gang just going to hold this bot lane wave and force Garden Gaming to step up aggressively to contest it.
Indeed, and I think that getting the next set of Grubs right here for Hellish is going to be huge, because giving over 6 is going to be pretty dang scary. Sure, you do a lot of damage as RG to towers, but they are relatively short range. They're also going to have a lot of wave clear on Garden Gaming, so having those Grubs could begin to negate that. This is going to be a bit of a collapse situation right here, though.
Typical spotted Hellish. In goes. Flashes on for the stun onto Squidly. There's the culling. It's starting to melt. Typical going down. The flash roll from Kurosh means another will fall. Uzol now jumping forward onto Kurosh. There's the Gnar. Doesn't quite land into the wall. It's a double kill coming through for Hellish, though, as Slice falls as well. MKL is now here as well. Kurosh with an extra fall. Uzol will take that one. And it's 3 very quick kills traded for just the one. And the Grubs will go across to Garden Gaming.
Yeah, RG, they looked for something a little bit spicy, trying to hide off in the bush, but it just does not work out. Sure, Squidly falls, but in order to pick up that kill, Kurosh is forced to go way too deep. Ends up just in the midst of everybody. It sure has the dashes, does a lot of damage, nearly manages to pick up the trade kill onto Hellish. Isn't quite able to, though, and giving over the 3 Grubs means that it will be even in 3 apiece, but that is quite a lot of kills going over. 2 being picked up for Hellish as well. It's going to be huge. You know, just getting the Sejuani into a nice spot to be able to tank up, buy space for these carries is exactly what you're looking for. And if we take a look at the individual gold, there's a whole 1,000 gold in that mid lane. But there are some other big gaps. You know, it's a nice little lead for Hellish compared to what Slice has been able to do. Bot lane, relatively even. Top lane, kind of the same deal.
Yeah, kind of that explains where a lot of this action has been. Meanwhile, Kurosh a little bit caught. 3 in the mid lane. The Magnet Storm will pull them back. A lot of damage going down. Squidly will secure that kill. Now Slice is here, though. Ermin should be the next to fall. The stun will land for now, keeping him alive for a little bit longer. Away from Squidly means that no more damage will come through, and now Metro Arch comes flying in. The Killer Instinct has been found as Squidly running for their life. Hellish will be the next to fall, and Metro will grab that kill for themselves. What looked to be a good collapse onto Kurosh ended in disaster for Garden Gaming.
Yeah, sure, you managed to get the kill onto the Lucian, beginning to shut him down. That is a good start to these fights, but you have to overcommit to try to kill this guy. It doesn't work out so well, and indeed, you're going to give up the Drake as well. Now 1 apiece. And this game, it feels like the action just really hasn't stopped. It's been pretty bloody so far and very back and forth in these team fights. It's something that we saw yesterday, actually, in that 50-minute banger that we had. When you can't get enough kills for there to be a solid team fight victory either way, things can feel pretty back and forth. Kensuke going to go in at the exact same time as Ermin. Kensuke is pretty tanky, doesn't have the ult though, so just going to melt, actually.
It's just going to melt. Metro now running for the hills. Hellish is here. The Electro Prison will tag onto the Kai'Sa. And an execution from MKL on the arrow. The blighted quiver will cause your downfall today.
Another, I mean, just quick little gank right there. Is a really unfortunate timing for Kensuke that he went in at the exact moment that there was going to be a gank coming through from Hellish, that Ermin wanted to go in as well. And Metro, without the flash, was pretty much dead in that situation. You know, did have the cleanse, so could potentially have cleansed that Glacial Prison, but once you cleanse that one out, there's just going to be more slows, more CC coming through. I get why the decision was made to just leave that one alone. Kurosh going to go in, but immediately gets that Chaos Storm dropped on his head, and yeah, that one's beginning to hurt. Now that you've got the beginnings of the Ludens, I mean, ow.
Yeah, I mean, the way Luden's Companion now works as well, if you are isolated, you take the 6 ticks of damage left, right, and center all on your face. It does lead to a lot of burst damage on this item now in isolation compared to what it used to be as the Echo. So, Squidly definitely starting to come online now, but meanwhile there's 4 people strong in the top lane. Uzol going to be flashing away from the tower, Typical. Still running down. Dominus was popped, but the Hyper will actually allow Uzol to just keep running. There's the Culling, does tag on alongside that Ardent Blaze, but there's the Mega Gnar 2 into the wall. The stun will follow. Tower will secure it up for Slice, but bought so much time, and now the mid lane tower just being wailed on. Metro, the only member trying to defend it.
Absolutely, you're right with that one. It was just time being bought. The second that you are being chased by 4 people and you're running towards the opposition base, yeah, that one's not going to go so well. But still, the amount of time bought was useful. That double Gnar was nice to see as well. There is going to be a death timer. Has teleport available, so can potentially join this fight in 8 seconds time.
Speaking of the fight, the stun coming down onto Hellish
Oh,
into the
huge
clearance,
Magnet
but now the
Storm.
Glacial Augment lands onto Metro. The Glacial Storm, the Magnet Storm is huge as well. 2 are already dead, but it's another 2 traded. Kurosh doing everything they can. MKL will secure that damage. Slice will fall as well. And the only member left standing is the only member that was not in the fight. Typical. Carrying the hopes of Rich Gang's dreams of getting a Herald, and he's going nowhere near it. Garden Gaming get 4, they get a Herald, and they walk away very, very happy with the situation.
Yeah, that's the joys of this composition. The combo that you can get is just insane. Squidly does so much damage. MKL, though, picking up that triple. I mean, that was a huge fight out of them. And it was all predicated on that Magnet Storm. The 3-man Magnet Storm that just knocks everybody out, drags them all in. It makes it absolutely perfect for lasers to be laid down, for the piercing arrows to go through everybody as well. Just such a nice look there out of Ermin, and that's the kind of engages you really need. If you compare that up with the Sejuani or with the Gnar, those engages are just going to be crucial for winning this game, and it's kind of the reason I prefer this composition. There's just so many more options for who's going to go in, rather than you knowing that it's going to have to be an Alistair combo or maybe a flank out of typical for the side of Rich Gang.
Absolutely, there is a lot less easy ways to play it around it. We shall see as the game goes forth. Looks like mid lane just going to be a bit of a contest for the wave control as things stand. That mid tower did fall in favor of Garden Gaming just now, as we see everybody moving back towards this Herald. It was not secured after the back of the last fight. But a 5-0 on 1 Varus is now nothing to be trifled with. You can see Rich Gang, they're a little bit hesitant to be stepping in. 4 members strong towards this top side. Kurosh down towards bot lane. Uzul is in the mid lane. There is no TP, so I think it's just going to be a give-over angle and hope that you can find something elsewhere on the map.
Indeed, Hellish going to be able to pick this one up relatively easily. There are 3 members kind of stalking Uzul through the river, through the jungle, trying to cut him off from being able to get down into the bottom lane to save that tower. That tower is definitely going to go down with a Lucian on one side of it, a Gwen on the other, but the potential trade could be coming through. With the Herald, maybe you're going to be looking to try to take down this mid lane tier 2. That would be a huge pickup. The first tier 2 is worth so much if you can grab it. Some bonus gold. Plus, if it is going to be that mid lane tier 2, you just unlock so much. Instead, they are going to go top side after the response out of Rich Gang. They're going to pick up this tier 1 very easily. We'll see if they're able to pick up the tier 2 because there will be a response.
There will be. Picking up all of those outer towers does give you a little bit more control over the enemy jungle. The dragon is up and available, but you're pulling the entirety of the enemy top side to deal with this. There is the dash forward. Can't quite get the smite off to allow for the Herald to die. Hellish getting knocked back out, and Ermin has now found 2 on the backside of the fight. The knockup will land as well. MKL is dominating as Ermin will fall as well. The killer instinct from Metro Archer means another 2 will fall, and what looked to be your angle, Garden Gaming, has been your downfall.
I mean, it looked good. It was another nice Magnet Storm, but because the Sejuani is caught behind the play, because of that Herald, you just don't have that front line to try to keep everybody alive. Ermin's engage does also land onto a couple of the tankier members, rather than being useful on getting on top of Kurosh, and Kurosh just managed to lay a full culling down onto every single member. I mean, it feels like, once again, if Rich Gang are going to win this game, it's going to be about the Lucian, right? The Lucian needs to be able to have the space, find those cullings, and lay down all of that damage. Metro Archer obviously was doing a good amount of work in that fight too, but it's just that ulti every single time out of Kurosh that is shredding even the front line. Whoever it lands on just dies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Slice get it?
Ermin and Uzul contesting the Slice, just gonna smite it away. Just gonna smite it away. Just gonna be able to get it.
They're just chilling in the pit with 2 enemies. Yeah, we're fine. This is a fine situation to be in. This might not be a fine situation.
No, I fear Squidly might be a little in danger here as the Dominus has popped, forces the TP out of Uzul, and they just back it away.
Yep. Gonna be more than happy with that one. Sure, you lose the Dominus, although, actually, that being said, the collapse could be coming through. Ermin has caught 2 of them.
The stun lands onto both, and the Chaos Storm just rips through Kurosh. The storm of the ages is typical, trying everything. MKL with a snipe from downtown, and that's just the Baron.
Yeah, that's 2 kills going through. Obviously, Slice is still alive. Just recalled, though, is going to have a long walk back towards this Baron. They're not even pinging towards it. They've conceded this one. Just going to try to pick up this mid lane tier 1 as a response. But that's a huge swing right there. Just at the point at which it felt like Rich Gang were beginning to get a foothold back into this game, things just go wrong. They don't even get the mid lane tower. They're just going to have to back this one off. Could potentially be chased onto.
So much damage onto Kanska coming out of Squidly. Metro running for their life. Does manage to get the E away, but has to flash to safety. Kanska just sending Uzal and Squidly on a bit of a wild Minotaur chase, I guess. As it will be donated over to Uzal. Squidly not too upset about chasing that one further. And now this mid tower's under threat because you've got the Baron wave and no real
TP behind, TP behind.
TP behind, as you mentioned.
Two.
And Kurosh both behind now. MKL's been flashed on, he's dead! It's a killing spree for Metro Edge of the Culling, tagging onto everybody. Ermin is next to fall, as is Hellish. Squidly, the stacking tower damage, just half health is Victor, immediately flashing onto Metro.
Oh, okay.
Fight! The kill is blown up on the spot, and should just be able to survive, running for the hills with their life, but it's a 3-for-1, it's just not worth.
That's going to only leave 2 Barons available, and what a play that was. I love it. Double teleport coming through out of Kurosh and Typical. They see the angle, find the 2 teleport wards. There's sort of 2 blue wards in and amongst a sea of red, and they take 3 of the Baron buffs off of the board. They're also going to be able to push through the mid lane. I don't know if Typical's going to be able to take this full tower with Squidly on the way back, but still, it's going to do some good work against it. And in a situation where Garden Gaming, they felt like they were fully in control of this game after that Baron play, it gets flipped right on its head once again. There's still a 2,000 gold lead for Garden Gaming, but this one feels so close. You can really tell that this is a fight between 2 of the titans of our league, and they are sort of scrapping for that second place position right now. Garden Gaming winning this one would put them even with Rich Gang. Rich Gang winning, though, would put them in a solid second place position.
Certainly would, and it has been a back and forth game, as you mentioned, and honestly, I'd rather have it no other way. A lot of fun to watch. I can imagine just as fun to mess around in, as we now see no real objective left up on the board for another 2 minutes or so. So we should just see a bit of pressure being traded across, vision control coming down very shortly. But generally, if there's a fight, I will question why.
Yeah, indeed. I feel like fighting right now when you don't have an objective to go after would be a little bit of a risk for Garden Gaming. You're in control of this one. Keep it slow. You know, 2,000 gold, it's nothing to sniff at this point. I would be interested to see where that 2,000 gold is. If we could have a quick look at the gold. A little bit in the bot lane. Decent amount in the top lane, though. Like, look at the top lane gap. But then also the jungle back the other way, so yeah, it's honestly very even pretty much across the world. Ermin gonna get jumped, though.
He is gonna get jumped. A lot of health going down there. Now the culling comes up, but it doesn't tag onto anybody.
Oh, it's a disaster.
Metrach flying into the backline has found MKL, has found Ermin. It's a double kill for Squidly has the Zonyas to try and survive. Hellish will be the next one. There's a triple kill for Metro, and Kurosh will secure the 4th for themselves. There's no objective up for another minute, but it doesn't matter. The push has been stopped. It's been completely ruined, in fact, because Uzal, they can't even keep pushing mid lane.
No, they're gonna have to head on towards the top lane. There's not really a tower for a while. And whilst they are running up top, there's going to be a full push going on in both the mid and the bot lane right here for Rich Gang. I love the call right there from them. They found the engage onto Ermin, and sure, you'd think, oh, it's just the support, but that's the support that is having to start all of these fights out for Garden Gaming. The second that Ermin's dead, it's just so much easier for them to be able to step up, jump on top of everybody, and they got surrounded incredibly quickly. Rich Gang showing why they are one of our better team fighting squads in the league right now. And it hasn't been as much about Kurosh as I thought it had to be. Sure, Kurosh has had a very good game, but I think that actually Metro and Slice have been having much better times of it after the first, 5-10 minutes. That wasn't the ideal situation. Now it's looking much, much cleaner. We've now got the next Drake spawning. If Rich Gang can pick it up, it will put them at soul point. Still not soul yet, so it's not the end of the world for Garden Gaming if they have to concede this one. The Baron in 2 minutes, so that's going to be the big objective.
Certainly will be, and as you say, Slice and Metro really having very good later halves of this game. We'll have to see if that continues. Dragon will go across its soul point, as you mentioned. Now just looking at the possibility of the Baron shortly. Kurosh going to be able to get away from Uzal, no problem. And Metro now sitting on all 3 evolves, so those Ws are going to start to hit like small trucks, especially if they end up proccing the Plasma from the Living Skin. Seeing a bit of a push towards this top side as Uzol walking into Typical. There's going to be a bit of trading for now. The Gnar into the wall is good as the stun comes down, just keeping Typical locked up. There's the Dominus. Slice will not be followed by Dice just yet. A lot of damage coming through from both sides. Sidesteps the stun as the Starax pops, so Uzol a little healthier for now, but a big healing from Typical, and Uzol has to jump away. Ermin has now arrived, and Karosh TPing in to try and state the play. There's the culling. Flash away from Uzol. Hellish and Ermin now just running for their life. Slice tag 2 with needle work. Typical flashing forwards. Finds Uzol. Has the damage. There goes Metro flying in. The cleanse has already been popped. That's 1 already dead. A second
Metro,
to follow.
okay.
3 have already fallen. 4 have already been felled. And Squidly's pushing the top side. It's going to be a bit of a base race between these two squads.
And I feel like I'm going to be a little bit happier about the 5 people pushing in towards the base. They might well be able to end this one. I think they're just going to be able to do it. Squidly is back. They have a lot of wave clear, but is it enough?
I don't think it is. The dash in on Squidly. The Zhonya's will buy some time, but the first next tower's already fallen. The second going very quickly as well. Squidly! Health bar disintegrates as what was a back and forth game falls well in the hands of Rich Gang. A beautiful game of beautiful back and forths. What more can be said?
I really, really enjoyed that game. I thought we got to see a lot of the good stuff from both of these teams, but Rich Gang, they're just better at deciding when to fight, I think is the thing in this game. There are a couple of moments where you just went a little bit too far forwards. You were feeling yourself a bit too much as Garden Gaming, and then everything goes wrong. That push after they've got the Baron, they want to fight, they're feeling so good pushing up, but they haven't sweat for wards behind them. The double teleport comes through, they pick up a couple of kills for Rich Gang, and all of a sudden the game feels back to being pretty even. And then in the bot lane, you're pushing a little bit too far forward. You know, you think you're in a good spot because, hey, it feels like you should be, but Ermin just steps a little bit out of position, gets engaged upon, and as soon as you don't have the Rel starting the fights, as soon as you're getting engaged upon as Garden Gaming, you just cannot win out on those ones. A really unfortunate one for Garden Gaming, and with 2 losses in a row, the team that was looking so good fighting for that second place position is beginning to slip in the rankings a little bit.
Yeah, certainly is. It was a very close game though for so long. It's just two slight falters towards that bot side, and everything starts to fall. I do believe, give me 1 second. Yes, okay. I do believe we are going to throw to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have an interview with one of the players from Rich Gang. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon. Welcome back, everybody. We don't have Kurosh. It is not Kurosh. Don't be fooled. We have Typical with us for the interview today. Welcome in, Typical. Congratulations on the win.
Yeah, welcome everyone. I mean, it was quite easy, so that's it.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Coming into the game, were there any kind of apprehensions that you had? Kind of looking at the comp, I saw you guys band away the Tristana into the first pick Lucian. The Lucian worked very well for you yesterday. How did were there any apprehensions as draft played out, or was it very kind of cool, calm, collected, and confident?
Okay, so first thing, it's a face reveal for my team. I hope you're gonna do the same in the future interviews. 07. Okay, and back to the question. Okay, so the draft, we banned the Tristana, and the interesting thing, we planned a lot the Tristana, the third ban. That's why we banned it in last second. Yeah, we had like a lot of mess, and we knew that the Tristana ban is going to be the best, but we couldn't decide between Tristana and something else. And yeah, there was the one guy who clicked the ban. He was a third picker, mid laner, I can tell you. Yeah, and he did the Tristana ban, which was really good, I think.
Perfect. And I mean, in your lane specifically, the Gnar Renekton matchup, it's a matchup of old. We've been seeing it for years and years. Haven't seen it so much recently, to be honest. We haven't had the Gnar as much. How did you feel going into that matchup, and how do you think it went?
This match, okay, so I said like level 3, we're gonna dive him. I mean, we kind of tried it. It was a little bit delayed because he was trying to contest the wave, right? But yeah, we did it. We zoned him a little bit. I think it still was good. We could probably play it a little bit more on the tempo, but we end up punishing immediately, which kind of we have to do that before he gets stabbed by, so we get the lead and you can just kind of play this matchup. Yeah, so I think we did the list, and yeah, we continue to just snowballing kind of.
Perfect. And then after the first sort of 20 minutes or so, it felt relatively even. You unfortunately lose a team fight, end up losing the Baron, but then the huge TP flank play where you and Kurosh both managed to get the TPs off, flank around, and then get a couple of kills. What was the call for that? How did you decide to make that play?
I mean, before, like the way they took Nashor, I think they had a lot of vision, so we got caught, and that's how they get it. And the way we punished them, like the thing is, mid tier 2 is a bait. Like you never push it first, and they kind of went for it. We got some flank wards, and we just went for it. Like we knew it's kind of easy to just commit on them when they're just stuck between both sidelines, and we can just flank both ways. So we kind of did it, and it was easy. So don't push tier 2 on Nashor buff.
I mean, that's fair. That's definitely fair enough. One final question for you, Typical. How does it feel? I mean, you guys have solidly secured yourselves a second place standing as we are currently. So how does it feel kind of coming off the back of that game? Are you looking forward to the race towards playoffs now?
I mean, honestly, I got some juicy picks incoming. I hope, I mean, prepare, let's say. So we might cook a bit more. I mean, the TF pick was really good, but they countered it really well as well. Like the Nasus was really good. Like probably the best pick they could have taken was Nasus. So congrats for them, but we still better, even though it's 43 minutes, right? And they have Smolder, Nasus over there. Okay, and yeah, we're just going for playoffs and promotion and all these things. We're just getting better and better. I love my guys.
That's what we like to hear. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us, Typical. Very, very big congratulations on the win once again. And I do believe we will be going to a very short break again. But when we return, we will have our second game of the day, which, don't quote me on this, but I believe it is Lazy in Life versus 42 Gaming. Don't go anywhere, we'll be back soon.
Yeah, see you guys.
Welcome back, everybody, for game number 2. It is, in fact, Lazy in Life up against 42 Gaming. Blocks, can you tell us a little bit about what we saw from these two teams yesterday?
So it was a really, really interesting set of games from these two teams yesterday. 42, I mean, I really like what they did, but at the same time, Fourth Wall are not a great team, and also they had 0 bans. So I don't know how much I can fully take from that game. That being said, they're sat 3 and 4. You know, they've taken some good games off of a couple of our top teams, and so I like it. I like what they're doing. I think that their players are a little bit unhinged in a good way. This is a compliment, by the way. I'm saying this, and I fully mean it as a compliment. And I think that their squad's got a little further into the unhinged category, because they've got a sub coming in. They have had to change their roster around a little bit. Chrissy's not here, so JJ's going to go play in the ADC role, and we're going to get Influentic in the mid lane. Now, both of these players love to pick just wild stuff. They love to play as fast and as hard as possible, and so I'm very excited to see what they can do. But yeah, it is a little bit crazy out of 42.
Yeah, definitely seems to be. Influentic, a player that's been around for the last couple of splits. I had the pleasure of working with Influentic a couple of splits ago myself, so very, very strong player. Very excited to see what they bring to the table today. But on the other side, Lazy in Life, what can we expect from them? What did we see from them yesterday? You know, what can we kind of expect coming into this game?
It was possibly the best loss that anybody took yesterday. It sucks to lose, but losing to Unique in the way that they did, I'm not too upset about that one, I gotta be honest. I thought that they looked really, really good in that game. They pushed Unique seriously hard. I mean, it felt like they were fully in control of that game up until 1 or 2 team fights, which is just... it's just the way that Unique work. Unique are not one of those teams where you're like, wow, they are completely in control of every single second of this one. Venom Crest in the past, where their team's just like, their macro is better than you are. They know where to fight, they're going to be in the right spot at the right time, and all of their players are good enough to execute this system. They're not that kind of team. They're going to scrap with you the whole time, and then at about 20, maybe 25 minutes, they're going to win a team fight, and they're going to end the game. And that's what unfortunately happened, but in terms of that kind of playstyle, Lazy pushed Unique further than basically anybody else has so far in this split, other than Garden, who were able to pick up that win. So I think despite the fact they lost, I'd take a lot of heart from that matchup. But still, this one I think is going to be a little bit closer than maybe you'd expect, purely looking at the standings. You know, 3 and 4 up against 4 and 3. Seems very even, but yeah, I think Lazy have picked up some better wins against better teams. 42 have picked up some wins against some of the lesser teams as well. So I'm very 50-50 on who I think is going to come out on top in this one. I think it depends on kind of what version of 42 shows up. Are they going to be restrained? I'm not sure about that being a win. Are they going to be as unhinged as possible and just play hard and fast the whole time? I think then 42 have a chance.
Yeah, and we shall see as the day goes on, as the game goes on, as we get into the draft. Now, similar question as to game 1. Knowing these two teams, is there anything kind of out there that we should anticipate? I know Influentic has played at least one champion that we don't normally see too much on competitive. So are we expecting any really off-meta picks in this game?
Ooh, in terms of completely off-meta, there's not really that much out of either of these guys. I think the Aphelios was kind of the weirdest thing that I've seen out of anybody recently, and obviously Chrissy isn't here, so I'm not really expecting that to be the pickup. Tidebringer, the only thing, yeah, it's the Seraphine. Kind of loves to play the Seraphine. Ezreal has played pretty much both of those. A couple of other pickups coming through recently, but those have been the main ones. With the Seraphine off of the board, I think that's the final remaining, yeah, wow, what is that sort of pickup?
Yep, and as I previously mentioned, Influentic has played a game in a Fury when filling in as well, so we could see that coming through. But kind of going through this ban phase now, I think we're going to see a lot of the standard bans coming through. Hui, again, another one of these very standard champions coming through. The Rumble, another thing we're seeing a lot of bans come through on. So looking towards maybe Ezreal, maybe Tristana, maybe Corki, those kind of champions going forwards.
Quite possibly. I mean, it depends really, I think, on if the Corki is able to survive and make it through in this one. I'd be surprised. I gotta be honest, I would be surprised. I think in terms of crazy pickups that we could potentially be looking at, I would be very interested to see what Milkshake is going to pick up. Yeah, that head tilt was because we had a Pyke yesterday. We had the Pyke yesterday. It was good. It was really good. I enjoyed watching that Pyke. immensely. It completely took over the bot lane, and the second that the bot lane took over, it was Pyke Ezreal as well. So the Ezreal just got abandoned to the lane, had a chill time. The Pyke went off to the rest of the map and made everybody else's lives miserable too. It was good fun to watch, so I can get why that one is going to be banned out. First pick Sejuani once again. The Sejuani seems to be rising in priority once again. We saw a lot of the aggressive junglers. All of a sudden, everybody seems to be tapering those off a little bit more, moving towards the Sedge, who just gives you so much.
I can answer that question very quickly. Warmogs.
Yeah, it's so strong.
It's
so strong.
It's not funny.
At the moment. I mean, I'm having a great time.
Of course you are. The resident
loving...
Warwick main is having a lot of fun with the Warmogs rush meta. The Ezreal
so nice.
Is locked in for Tidebringer on the other side. Another one of these champions, as you mentioned, they do quite enjoy playing. Very strong at the moment as well. You know, this could also go mid lane for Pybel. Uncertain. It's unlikely. The Xin Zhao response going towards that more bruiser route, which is a little bit different from what we've seen recently, but still going to work out, I would imagine.
Nah, just build the Warmogs. Just build the Warmogs at this point. No, of course not. The Xin Zhao wants to get a lot more aggressive, and I mean, why not? The build at the moment, you get so much healing, you can get into the backline and survive for a shockingly long time. You can also pop that ult and live for a long time as well. And it works quite well when you've got a mobile AD carry, because you don't have to be that protector. Do it. Do it. This is so 42. That's also so 42. Come on.
This is a JJ Influentic combo if I've ever seen it.
Oh, it would be. It's not going to be, I don't think. We could talk about the Yone, though, because that one has been locked in. Yone Sejuani is a great engage combo. You can fly in from downtown, lock that one in. Kai'Sa's at least interesting. I think it's the better option, but it would have been a much more JJ Influentic. It would be much more 42 for it to have been the Vayne, you know, for it to have been something criminal right there. I do love that. Is also going to be the Alistar. The Alistar works really well with the Ezreal, because in the 2v2, you can engage very easily, and the Ezreal always going to be able to follow up, but at the same time, the Alistar can also go roam around the rest of the map, get involved elsewhere, and the Ezreal shouldn't die, really isn't expected to die in a Kai'Sa lane. Sure, if you let the Kai'Sa get on top of you, she should be able to 1v1 you, but that's really not going to happen, and the Ezreal, once you get that Trinity Force completed, even at that one item, the spike is incredible. You are just hitting like a truck, and we've seen it again and again. It was one of the most picked things we had yesterday, and for good reason. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you've also got the added bonus of there's a Yone and a Sejuani looking to fly in on your face. What does Cow do if Cow don't do bonk? Away.
Bonk.
Away. Just get away from me. And also, your Ezreal can leap on out of there. You know, this is a good pickup. I do like this one. You can buy space for your ADC. You also don't have to buy space.
Now, the question does stand, right, of is this Yone going to Influentic or is it going to Virtuoso in this top lane? Or Virtuoso, sorry. Where is it likely to go? I'd be very surprised if Influentic doesn't pick this one up. It's a very Influentic champion. At the same time, Virtuoso has had some carry performances. It is a possibility, and the flexibility, I think, is the best bit about it right now. You don't know where it's going to go as lazy. You have to be able to plan for both of those. They're just going to ban supports in this situation to sort of open themselves up a little bit of extra space in this bottom lane, and they don't have to commit to banning top laners or mid laners. But yeah, I think we'd both be surprised if it isn't going to be Influentics in the middle lane. That is a great pickup if it is going to be into the middle lane, because the baby cage goes up, you just can't play this one out. You can sit quite far back as the Veigar. At the same time, though, if you can get on top of the Veigar, you can punish very heavily as this Yone, but it's not the easiest matchup for you to play. Absolutely not. The Taliyah ban also suggesting a heavy dive element coming into this game. I mean, you got Kai'Sa, you got Yone, you got Sejuani. Taliyah's just a bit of a hellscape already. The Janna Hoff is a bit of an interesting one, as kind of like going... It doesn't really fit thematically. You've got a lot of dive, and then you've got an anti-dive champion. I've not seen something that doesn't go in support for... In a while. Months at this point. Enchanter Gaming! Enchanters? That's not true. We had a Karma recently. Okay, I don't count Karma. She's a damage threat. The Karma is just killing people. The Karma is not about that sit and support life.
really interesting to pair it up with the Kai'Sa in this situation. Also going to get that K'Sante locked in. And this is a composition that just wants to go in. Like you said, the Janna is a little bit odd because it is going to want to sit back. Maybe it's a Xin Zhao answer if we do end up with something like the Aatrox, the Gnar. Being able to knock them away and just try to keep your Kai'Sa healthy does work out. But I do worry a little bit for Rexat's life when all of his friends go flying into the backline and he's just sat there like, well, nice knowing you.
You just feel like the slowest car in an F1 race at that point. The race starts. I haven't even got my engine started yet.
I don't think you're even an F1 car in this situation. You're in your Prius right there, sat on the start line.
The engine's not started.
Yeah, not gonna be a fun time, especially not when you've got a Xin Zhao and you've got a Renekton as well. Those can get on top of this Janna very, very easily, and I do worry a little bit for the Monsoon if it's going to actually land when there are even friends around. I think Lazy's composition works a lot more cohesively. There is a little bit of that where you have the Veigar who isn't really going to want to go flying forwards at the same rate that everybody else can, but at the same time, Ezreal, whilst you can use your Arcane Shift aggressively, is much more likely to want to sit back with it and play around that Veigar, use the Alistar, use the Xin Zhao to buy them space and allow them to do the damage that they need to. So it does make a little bit more sense thematically for Lazy.
Certainly does. Now, it's that time again, Max. We are less than 30 seconds out from game. Where does your prediction lie?
Oh, man. I really quite like the craziness that's coming out right here from 42. It's another situation where I feel like Lazy should win it. Okay, let's take a flyer. Come on, 42. I think that the Yone is going to be able to step up. Influentic, something that we've both talked about so much. Both know so well. I love to go in. The Yone is kind of the perfect champion for that. And, 42, they've been looking a little bit better. I would not be surprised if Lazy and Life come out with a victory, but I'm going to put some eggs in the 42 basket.
Well, I'm an aspect of chaos, and if there is any team that is going to give us chaos in this game, it is 42. So I have to agree. I think 42 can take this.
Yeah.
I mean, we've just seen Rich Gang do it against a composition that should theoretically win, right?
Yeah.
In Garden Gaming. I think 42 can do it as well. Be interesting to see just how the game plays out. Although, I think if there's any game we're going to see level 1 shenanigans, it's this one.
Yeah, there is a pretty strong potential for some shenanigans going down. I think for the side of 42 rather than Lazy. Lazy, I mean, I guess it could work. You do have a lot of stuns, potentially, if you would like them, but that kind of ruins your lanes. If you're going to pick all of those up, Alistar will keep saying, as long as people keep picking it, not particularly useful during the early stages of the game. So I would be very surprised if that is going to be the pickup right there. I do really like Lazy as a team, though. I love the way that Milkshake plays very aggressively. I think this one is going to be a bit of a banger.
We shall find out now as we are getting ready to go on to the Rift for game number 2. Lazy and Life up against 42 Gaming. Say hello to our teams for the day. And there's immediately a pause.
Oh, but we get to see Froggy.
Yeah,
we get to see the little Froggy.
Frogrompulus the first. Oh, and we're back, I think. Maybe.
I mean, there's colour.
There's colour. That means the pause is normally done.
Usually does. Now you're gonna get to see our faces again. A little bit of a false start.
That Prius, it finally booted up and it just couldn't get going.
Stalled, yeah. It's fine. We are gonna get going, and we are gonna see the hottest lap out of this Prius. I think in this game, the Prius is probably Lazy, right? That is the composition that they built. It's very standard. It's super reliable.
The Prius is the Janna.
Yeah, okay. The Prius is the Janna, and what Lazy's drafted themselves. It feels so much more standard, a lot less like the sort of composition that I'm like, whoa, what are you going to do with this? You're trying to find a ton of angles early on. Again, we've moved past the stage in the Renekton live where you're like, wow, Renekton needs to get kills early. He really doesn't. He's going to be useful to you later on in the game. The K'Sante matchup can be very 50-50 though, and I've seen plenty of solo kills in this matchup. I'm going to have to keep at least a little bit of an eye on that top lane.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup, if nothing else. It's a matchup that we kind of saw a lot when K'Sante released, right? Renekton, one of these champions that can just go this hyper early aggro onto the Cassante. But,
Oh, okay.
it's in the mid lane that we see some early fighting. Influentix taking a bit of a poor trade there. First strike win! Pieball happy with that one. Well, JJ...
I mean, and a stack, right? That's going to be a
Yeah.
stack as well, so...
Yeah.
Already getting to the point where you're scared of this Vigo, right? Right?
Maybe.
a little early. Maybe a little early
20,
right now.
what? 21 AP, maybe, with a Doran's ring? I'm not sure if I'm too scared of that.
Yeah, possibly not, especially not as a Yone right now. I think the Yone is going to be perfectly fine position. It is definitely a little bit of a win for Pieball, but not going to be the end of the world, obviously. We are going to get these junglers starting on opposite sides of the map. They're both going to be starting on their blue buffs. And the fact that Milkshake is working his way up towards the top side, I think is very interesting. You could try to gank onto the bottom lane. I mean, Janna is relatively easy to gank as long as you can try to dodge out onto that tornado. It can be pretty good, but at the same time, if you can get a Renekton an early kill in this Cassante matchup, it goes from being a pretty skill-based matchup to being very heavily in the favor of the Renekton.
Yes, it absolutely does. I think that's just kind of the nature of Renekton as a whole, right? As you get an early lead, you suddenly become a menace that nobody can deal with for about 20 minutes, and then you fall off a cliff and exist in...
You're still fine, though. This is the change. He's still fine, but there is a cliff. Whereas in the past it was, if he doesn't get the early kill...
You are off that cliff immediately. The cliff was a retractable cliff where if you didn't have a kill in the first 5 minutes, that cliff suddenly was at the tip of your toes.
Yeah, it just leaves you, unfortunately, very opposite really to the Cassante, where even when you're behind, with the all-out, you will just live. You will just continue living for forever, basically. And so, although it would be pretty difficult to play out that matchup with an early kill going over to Strato, Virtuoso not going to be too worried, even if that kill does go down, because you will still be a threat onto the backline. Although, that being said, Tidebringer, Pieball, they are pretty difficult to try to get on top of.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty slippery. I mean, you don't normally consider Vigar to be a slippery champion, but when you've got the baby cage, when you've got, you know, some of the well, I was going to say some of the champions around you that you do. You do have that element of safety about you, and yeah, Ezreal, naturally one of these champions that's just a pain in the backside to try and catch. So I do think these later game fights are going to get quite difficult. But my bigger question lies in, what do you do if you don't find leads as 42? Because even if you get to these carries, then on even footing, I'm not sure if you can just take them out.
Short answer, lose. Long answer, you're going to have to try to find some pretty incredible flanks and massive ultimates. If you can find a huge Fate Sealed out of Influentic, if Tuso can steal one of the main carries across the wall with the all-out, beat them to death over the wall while the rest of the team is fighting, then that's going to be your angle to actually get back into this game. But you get outscaled pretty dang heavily in this one, and you really just need to find those early kills to keep yourself ahead of the curve. I'm not saying you need to get the kills at this point, you know, within the first 10 minutes though, I would like to see some movement. I'd like to see some early ganks if possible. Obviously, I'm expecting the same thing out of Milkshake. Both the Xin Zhao and the Sejuani are great on those early ganks, are going to be wanting to look for them as quickly as possible. I think Milkshake could potentially have been looking for a gank right here, but is going to be spotted out onto a very good ward in his jungle.
Yeah, very nicely placed by the side of 42, who are apparently 41 for us today. The overlay at the top. I just caught out the corner of my eye and I thought I'd make a joke. They are 41 today.
It's because they're missing a player, right?
Yeah, exactly. They've had to use a sub, so they're only 41. Virtuoso getting
tower
Strato
shots,
under the tower. 2 tower shots, a lot of damage going down on both sides, though. Virtuoso, if they were a little bit healthier from the early trading, something could have happened. Strato looking a little aggressive. Flash forward is good. There's the Cole the Meek, and will trade their life, but it's first blood going to Renekton. This is what you wanted to see if you are a fan of Lazy in life.
Absolutely, you can see immediately the Bramble Vest just going to be slammed right there out of Virtuoso. Does not want all of that healing coming through from the Renekton that we're seeing. And that was just a very aggressive play out of Strato. Unfortunate that they did end up losing their life, but still, the extra gold you get from that first blood, getting the kill under the tower, is just such a great place to be in, as AJ is going to take a lot of damage right here. I don't think they're going to die quite, but Tidebringer still is going to lay down the hurt, and JJ with just maybe a fifth of the health left. That makes this a very sticky situation to be in, especially as Sim's going to look to go in again.
doing a very good job of tempering the flash sword from Tidebringer, the barrier, the shield. Rexxar lives for now, and now Balmeaf going solo. Balmeaf will grab it with the aftershock, and a good answer coming out as Lazy. Sim? Just gonna cowbell. I mean, sure. The Alistair things, I guess.
Bring me such joy. We're just gonna have a look at this play top lane, and then I'm gonna talk about that one. Vatuso is gonna flash away. Oh, double flash. They are going to be able to live. Very close, but living in that situation is going to be huge. Hey, I don't care about top lane. That was beautiful right there, Adam Sim. Really unfortunate that the heal, the barriers, everything, the shields coming through just about manages to keep Rexxar alive, but then Sim sees the angle. Now, obviously, I'm a Warwick one-trip. I love my champion, but I wasn't always. I used to play Alistair support with Mukau Alistair skin at all times, and you'd be shocked at how easy it is to pick up kills when people don't respect the damage that the Alistair does. Also, I was playing in bronze, but we skipped past that point, because you could pick up so many kills, and I just love that out of Sim. It's the aggression that I want to see. And to be honest, off of an early game that we talked about how we really want to see 42 accelerate themselves into the game, kills onto the Cassante, onto the Sedge is okay. I mean, that's not the end of the world, but I'd rather the kill onto the Renekton. I still think that Lazy are going to be very happy with the way that this game has gone, and if you get out of this early game even as 42, I don't think you've done enough. I think you need to get out of this early game ahead. Yeah, no, you are absolutely right in this situation. It is not the most ideal situation to be in. You will be able to secure the dragon off the back of it. And it looks like the first blood for the first blood trade for Vatuso gave 42 their player back. So they are now 42 again. I think it's not just a case of disrespecting the Alistair damage, it's also disrespecting standing too close together there, right? For the side of the 42 bot lane for JJ and Rexxar. Just standing on top of each other, knowing there's an Alistair there. Meanwhile, speaking of which, JJ going quite low. The shield came through. The knock-up is good. Balmeaf is there. If Tidebringer goes a bit too aggressive, it's just going to walk it out. For now, it's a good trade onto JJ. It's a lot of health, and if he steps too far forwards again, should lose their life as Rexxar looking to take a bit of trading. Sim sitting shockingly far back, given the situation. Yeah, I feel like potentially knows that Balmeaf is behind them, does want to be in a position to sort of block that Arctic Assault and then punt the Sejuani potentially back under the tower. That could turn into a kill. But yeah, like you said, in a normal situation, I would really like the Alistair set a little bit further forward, continue to threaten here onto Rexxar and JJ. Rexxar is in a very killable position right now, doesn't have that Monsoon, not level 6 yet, doesn't have the flash or the heal. If they were still in lane, could potentially have been killed. Instead, Rexxar is just going to go meet up with Balmeaf and potentially look for a play elsewhere. I don't think there's really a gank on anywhere. No, instead, everybody's just going to be taking some resets as Influentic. That's a very Influentic play right there. Jumps under the tower, takes a tower shot, but stops the base out of Pieball. With Pieball having very little mana left, this is a very bad situation for him to be in. Doesn't even have the teleport to rejoin his lane.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a painful one because it gives Influentic that chance to push that wave out fully, which is arguably where the bigger problem comes in. Because now you're coming back to a massively crashed wave as a Vigar who wants to keep the minions outside of tower to stack as many of them as possible.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a great point to be at right here for Pieball. It doesn't...
Sim.
Hang on, Sim.
Has found Vatuso, knocked back into the
misses.
Renekton, but the all-out manages to dodge the pulverize, and it's just going to be able to get out. Good use of the all-out there from Vatuso to escape from Strato, and Sim, who is now walking back through the enemy jungle, looking on towards Pieball, who's going very low from Influentic. Does have the Q stacked up, as there's the knock-up coming through to escape the combo from Sim, but Pieball should be safe for now. The Fate Sealed was used, there's no flash, there's no teleport. Soul Unbound into Sim. Does miss the knock-up, but does have the... Oh,
wait, it does matter!
Execute!
Oh,
Influentic!
no.
It's disaster for 42.
That's bad. That's really bad. Obviously, there's going to be a wave pushed under the tower-ish. Just about is going to crash enough, but that's still not a great place for that wave to have stopped either. And with Sim there, can just sort of keep that one up, as Tidebringer throws off the ult just to be able to clear this wave out a little bit quicker. Actually, nobody is coming bot lane right now to catch this wave. I don't know if Tidebringer knows that. No, they're just going to back off, expecting somebody to come and collapse, but could potentially have picked up a turret plating there. Missing out on a solo kill as a Yone feels terrible. Strato going to have to run for his life. He's going to be able to survive Balmeefa. We've got a lot of people in this jungle.
Dude, JJ been jumped on by Milkshake. No knockup to be found just yet. There it is. Balmeefa has now found the way in, but the stun is insane as the knockup comes. JJ had to Killer Instinct away for safety. Strato flashing over the wall onto Rexat. Rexat now on Influentic knocked away, but you have the rest of the team to worry about. No Fate Sealed up just yet. So there's the Baby Cage onto Influentic. The stun onto Milkshake is good as Influentic will grab that with the W. Virtuoso will take Strato. It's a 2-for-1 for now. And 42 regaining control of the river as Lazy move back into the mid lane.
Yeah, Lazy looked to get a little bit too aggressive right there. They end up losing out onto a couple of members, and it could have been much, much worse if that Fate Sealed was actually available right there for Influentic. He had a situation where he potentially could have grabbed 4, but they are going to keep this fight going.
Going a bit too aggressive onto Tidebringer. The Fate Sealed is huge onto 2 men. This is a double kill execute from the Soul Unbound. Strato now TPing in, looking for this Yone. There's the Permafrost. Possibly onto this Renekton, dashing back in onto Tidebringer. Influentic now missing everything, will fall to Milkshake, the knock back forwards. Need to anything. Only 1 grub went down, I believe. In fact, none may have done. None went down, which means this should just be 3 grubs to the side of Lazy and Live. And what looked to be good, it's given a lead to your Yone, but it's not enough. And that is now 6 grubs going across to a Renekton, an Ezreal, and a Veigar.
I mean, it was a nice Fate Sealed, but then there was a second where you could see all 3, they were looking to walk away, and then 42 decided to be 42, and they go and step up again. JJ is going to get jumped right here.
Good stun, means a lot of damage is taken, but nothing will come.
Is going to be able to survive at least. I mean, Sim has been everywhere in this game. 2-1 and 3 right now. Has been involved in all but 1 of the kills for his team. I really like the way that Sim has been playing this one out. 42... They are going to get this Drake down to about half health. There isn't going to be a jungler to try to get involved in this one. And so it's going to be 42 picking themselves up this Drake. The Infernal Drake, second one on the board as well. So that's going to be pretty huge. I like the look of that Chemtech Soul. I mean, to be honest, in this situation, I don't hate it for 42. I think that could potentially have been some better souls. Either the Hextech or the Infernal would have been nicer. But you can work with this Chemtech, and just being able to pick up the soul would be huge anyway. We've obviously got ourselves a Herald spawning pretty soon. That is another objective for these guys to fight around, and with 42 on the map, I expect the fighting to happen. I do just want to step back and look at Sim again, though, because he's been so proactive getting involved in all of these kills. Could potentially be looking to set something up for him and his jungler again. You've got Piebald in the area, and with a lot of pings going down, maybe they could have gone for something here. Even if not, I just love the way that Sim is being super proactive with this Owl Stun.
Absolutely. Now, not to take away from Sim and their insane ability to be everywhere on the map, but the Kai'Sa build was confusing for a moment there. Stun lands, not quite able to land the Fate Sealed. He's going to have to dash away. A lot of fighting, just endless fighting coming through this game from both sides. 6-6, even in gold. 6 grubs versus 2 dragons. The Herald started up by 42. Doesn't look like it's going to be contested for now. Lazy happy to just give this one across, possibly. Sim walking up now. Has been found by Rexat, but knows this is happening now. Milkshake looking to go over. Doesn't quite get over. Meanwhile, on the top side, Virtuoso going solo into Strato. Not going to be chased down for now as Balmeefa is there to cover, but Sim is walking, waiting, ready. Strato looking for the dive. Does manage to get stunned, but the Glacial Prison will land and cause the downfall of the Crocodile. I mean, Sim now here, looking to give anybody and everything what they can. It's a good ultimate from Rexat, but Rexat's life should be the forfeit. Going down to Piebald as Sim next to fall to Virtuoso. Now the TP's coming in. Valentic is here. JJ has arrived. Piebald running for the hills away from this Kai'Sa. Able to sidestep. Very good. The Saras will proc me moments out of the fight. Milkshake dropping very so low. Piebald will fall. Now Milkshake next to fall. Valentic dominated that kill. 4-1-0 on this champion now. This is a very good fight. Basically, a clean sweep for 42.
Yeah, it's just going to be a survival right there out of Tidebringer because Tidebringer was not involved in that fight. What a huge swing. That is going to be 4-1-0 right now on Influentic has completed that balk, and you can tell from the amount of healing that they were able to do. And the Sejuani is full build. That's a full build Sejuani. You can see right there. Yeah, thank you very much. That is going to be the Warmogs. Although I do actually want to look at the gold. That was very useful. Thank you very much, Zoe. As that is just going to be another massive swing. I mean, look in the mid lane. There's a pretty sizable gap in the mid lane right now. Go across the rest of the board. Bot lane has also got a relatively big chunk out of it. And Tidebringer just hasn't felt like he's been able to really get involved in this game quite yet. But that being said, with that Trinity Force now completed, there is an opportunity for him to really get involved and do a lot of damage.
About 1500 gold leave for Tuso as well. Gone for the Zeke's Convergent second item on Cassante. I'm gonna let you take this one, because I've never seen it.
I mean, I have seen it out of some of the top laners. I've seen it more out of Skarner in the top lane, to be honest, pre that nerf. And so I think it's just another situation where you're just trying to just help out as much as possible. Hang on, Milkshake's going to go for this one.
Is looking. The initial prison is very, very good. Able to get the bounty, but that's the only one Rexat able to push away with that Monsoon. Baby Cage doesn't quite land onto anybody. Virtuoso was able to solo kill Strato in the top side during that exchange. Xante oh so strong at this point, as now Sim has found onto Balmeath. Tag team looking. Influentic has found nobody with the Fate Seal flashing forward. Tidebringer looking for this Ezreal, looking for something, anything. The damage is good.
The kill.
Will fall. And now there's another two-man knock up on a Sim and Milkshake. Present guard is good. Kai'Sa dashing in. JJ looking for Milkshake. The knock up there. The flash away is good. The Baby Cage is keeping Influentic locked up for now. The dash forward from Milkshake is good, but the Q away is even better for Influentic. The TP coming in from Strato is very good. Now, the flash over from Sim means Influentic will fall. Going down Strato. It's a shutdown going across. Now the rest of Lazy chasing down 42. Will escape for now. 1 for 2 isn't bad, but it's a shutdown onto the Renekton. That's the last place you want it.
It really isn't, and I think it's another situation right here where 42, they get the kills, they put themselves in a good situation, and they overchase just a little bit. They just keep trying for the next kill, That being said, you still manage to get a ton off of that play. I mean, you also allow Virtuoso to just push through the top lane, pick himself up a ton of gold there as well. And even though these team fights are not often the cleanest, 42 are still walking away with more kills every single time. They're up by about 4,000 gold at this point, and you can really tell from the way that these items are shaking out. It's pretty much one completed item and maybe the scrap of a first bit of a component for Lazy, whereas 42, they're very, very close to getting those second items fully completed. Top lane obviously does have that one, and I get it out of the Cassandra. You're always going to get into a team fight, pop the ulti, and then, do extra damage. Help out with everybody around you. Allow your team to just do more damage about you. I don't necessarily think the Zeke's is the best, but in this game, when you've got a Renekton, when you've got a Xin Zhao trying to run around in these team fights, having them slowed up could be helpful.
It's also just a very cheap item, right?
True.
It doesn't cost much at all. So having access
2.2, isn't that?
Yeah, it's not an expensive item because it's meant to be one of these support items. Support items are naturally cheaper. Their gold income is much, much lower. As we see, that third Dragonet is now soul point for 42 for this Chemtech Soul. And if they can get that, killing them just gets that much harder. 2 items now completed for the Kai'Sa as well. JJ, extremely strong in this game so far. And we saw what a Kai'Sa could do last game as well. Interesting to see how this goes forwards. But we've not seen any big team fights that completely blow this game out of the water yet. Not like last game where you started to see big 3, 4, 5 team wipes for none, as Fate Seal missing for Influentic on the top side. Now Milkshake waiting on the Soul Unbound there. So when it becomes Lightning, it does a good bit of damage. And it will just be a death. Pieball flashing forward with the ultimate there. Now Balmeath just trying to run away. Rexat stepping a bit too far forward. It's a good Glacial Prison onto the... The fight starts to melt. JJ is raining damage from the sidelines. Virtuoso is no scratch either. 3 die at the price of Influentic. And Sim now having to run for the hills. The Baron is up in 7 seconds. 20 minutes on the clock. And 42 are starting to wreak havoc.
Yeah, you said we haven't had any of those team fights that really crack the game open. I think that might be one of them. Influentic overreaching perhaps a little bit, but it baits all of Lazy in. Right there, Virtuoso, Rexat, they're going to try to play bodyguard right now. It does only leave 2, trying to take down the Baron. Influentic also going to teleport his way in. Sim, Strato, I really don't think they're going to be able to do anything about this one as the Baron begins to melt that much faster.
TP in from Pieball. Found onto Rexat, but that's already the Primordial Burst used. It means that nothing else can come in this fight. Strato now going very low. Has full stacks of the Kai'Sa, but JJ can't really get into this. There's no killer. The baby cage is good. Sim will be the next one to fall. Balmith still chasing Strato down. Milkshake now dashing in. Influentic is there. Doesn't have the fate sealed just yet, but if this chase keeps going, could turn for it. Virtuoso tanking up a lot of damage here. JJ just looking for the reset. Comes Lightning does not tag onto this Kai'Sa. Trading 1-for-1 on your supports is not the worst thing in the world, especially when you get out with Baron Nashor.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultimate doesn't tag onto anybody.
Nope, just gonna fly it down on
Has
Main Street. That's a double stun.
Onto Tidebreaker. Fate sealed again, it just doesn't land, but it doesn't matter. This Ezreal, it's so mobile, but it just doesn't matter.
This is what I was saying during the draft, right? I kind of like the Lazy in Life composition, but there's just something about the way that 42 plays, and when you give them champions like this, like the Yone, like the Kai'Sa, where they can just keep going flying forwards, it's incredible. Unfortunately for all involved, it's really not the Yone, it's really not the Kai'Sa that's the main carry in this game. It's the K'Sante. The K'Sante is doing so much damage and living for so long in the backline that it's just buying so much time, so much space for everybody else on 42 to be able to do what they need to. Virtuoso is going to put some tests on the amount of tankiness that he has. Is going to get jumped by 3 different people, and surviving for a decent amount of time, and a great little tornado over the wall is going to get Virtuoso out. You can see just how much he's able to survive. Doesn't have a Warmog though, so won't be able to reset.
Should be fine. Everybody collapsing.
Oh, no, not fine.
Just a lot of damage. The healing come out now. As again, the Primordial Burst is used, but JJ and Influentic are on the side. The knockup is good. Don't bring that to the soul. Strato now found onto Influentic. Virtuoso tanking out what they can on the other side of the fight. Tidebringer dashing forward with Milkshake. There's the ultimate coming out of Tidebringer. The flash forward is good.
Wow,
JJ
okay.
having to 1v2. Doesn't quite find it. Influentic has been able to escape this exchange for now. The flash onto Rexat is good, but it's not quite enough as Virtuoso looking for something. Tidebringer will fall. This K'Sante is so big and Influentic has returned to the fight. Able to save Rexat, does not quite live though. Virtuoso now looking onto Sim. Pybul miles away from this fight. Again, there's a 4-for-2, 4-for-3. But it's in favor of 42.
It's always just in favor of 42, it feels like. They're able to just get a little bit more in a lot of these fights, but that one was a really good situation for Lazy. They were able to get that initial bit of damage onto Virtuoso, and then Balmith just doesn't get to do anything in that fight. Gets stunned up, taken down very, very quickly. Fortunately, there's no objectives once the jungler is dead, so Lazy, they kind of just have to keep trying to fight this one out, and pretty crucially, throughout that entire fight, there was no ulti on Influentic, and so without the Fate Sealed, just wasn't able to have that same level of aggression. Strato is going to get jumped right here, does manage to take down the tower. That is going to be a bounty for his team. Going to try to escape, get stunned up though, and I really don't think you're going to be able to survive from this one. Pybul is around. Wait, they're going to
can't dash back. Pybul able to secure that as both fall to the Veigar, and there is now no smite for this objective. JJ has arrived, but is caught out on vision. Virtuoso is here as well, so if there was a fight to happen, it would be now, especially with ultimates down, but just going to concede it. It's one dragon. It's not the end of the world. Bit of an overforce coming out from the mid-jungle duo of 42 Gaming.
Yeah, they try for that fight. I mean, it was always going to take quite a while to be able to pick up that kill onto Strato. And then once you don't get it initially, it's so tricky to be able to chase on. The collapse from Pybul was great, and we're seeing just how much you can get from that baby cage. I mean, it's been so incredibly impactful throughout basically this entire game. And then you just destroy people with that dark matter, right? It just comes and nukes people from on high. And this fight was getting pretty scary. I would love to get a little check on the stats when we get another chill moment.
Stack check!
Let's have a look, because it feels like it's already pretty scary. 305 with 878 in terms of that AP. So you're not over 1,000, but still, this Veigar hurts.
Yeah, 3 items. You've still got 2 items room, so you should be over 1,000 when you finish those out, especially with that death cap already completed. Sitting at the only member on the team sitting at 3 items, the only other member in the game being Virtuoso and JJ. That Nash is now completed. So again, those W's going to start to hurt, especially if they proc that plasma. We're seeing a lot out of the Kai'Sa recently. For now, doesn't look like anything's going to happen. So let me ask you this, Bloxer. How do either of these teams put themselves in a position where they can kind of just command the game from here?
You gotta start the fight if you're 42. I think if you're getting chased around, these fights really just don't work out for them. I want to see them have that initial bit of engage. See Virtuoso in the backline, making sure Tidebringer and Pieball aren't able to do their thing. And then Influentic hits a big ult. As long as JJ is kept alive by Rexat when Milkshake inevitably goes flying into the backline, things should be just fine. I think it's a relatively standard game plan out of 42. Be aggressive, go play ball. Lazy, it's a little bit harder. You really need to find a way to...
Good catch onto Tidebringer. It's just going to be a death.
Not have that happen. You really need to find a way for that not to happen as Lazy. You need to keep all of your members alive so that you can find your picks with that Veigar. It doesn't end up working out, and now Strato...
It's just going to be dead.
Yeah.
It's just going to die. There is no minion
JJ's
connected
alongside.
There's a wave under the tower now, though. It's not as dangerous, and Virtuoso is there to keep safe. That's 2 very quick kills to 42, out of what seemingly should have been nothing, right?
Yeah.
There is no feasible reason for either player to die in that situation. Very nice catch out from the side of 42. And with 2 minutes on the next Dragon, which is their soul, no less, and the Baron being up, more mistakes like that are just going to lead to 42 snowballing this game even further out of control. It's already a 6,000 gold lead in their favor. So any more than that, things start to get dangerous.
They really do. I mean, it's so tricky to be able to kill all of the 42 members right here as Lazy, and getting caught out in that situation just feels so bad. Balmy using this Glacial Prison do great effect so far. The real only bit of a long-range engage that the team has that doesn't include the champion going with it. And so needs to be hitting those to be able to... My lord, Pieball!
JJ!
Jeez.
Not
okay,
again.
this was going to miss. Alright, I mean... That was criminal, the amount of damage. It's going to force a reset out of Pieball. Does have the TP, though.
There is a TP coming in, as now we see the first makings of this teamfight start. Crescent Guard's already down. Virtuoso not able to land the knockup. Balmy going very low. Flash into the baby cage. Is able to... Strato has found Rexat as well, but the damage dealers are also alive. There is dash in
sealed
from Influentic, and it catches onto everybody. JJ's there for the cleanup. It's a triple kill. The knockup is good. Keep them alive now, and there's a baby cage. That's on the 2! Pieball!
Just flashes the thumbs up and everything. Is just gonna nuke a man and say, yep, that's all good. Gonna give us... I mean, that was a brilliant little play right there out of Pieball. Influentic looked like he was gonna get a penta potentially for JJ. I mean, that was a crazy fight. Balmy, unfortunately, flashing into the baby cage, gets himself killed. Balmy really doesn't have the tankiness right now to be able to stand up in the face of everybody. Virtuoso will live a lot longer, whereas Balmy, who is getting jumped more often than not, doesn't survive. You're really all about getting into this fight, helping out for a second, absorbing some damage for your carry that's linked with that Knight's Vow, and then jump back out, reset your health, and get back in again. That's really not the playstyle that they've been allowed to do so far, and it's unfortunate for 42. That's another fight, though, that isn't a winner. A big solid yes, you won that team fight. It's so back and forth, the kills going either way. This is going to be solo for 42. If they want to get this fight going effectively, they need to not lose Balmy early on, because it's bad. I mean, is Sim dead? The Milkshake's going to collapse, though.
Possibly the rest of the team is here. The baby cage catching onto both of the tanks. There's so much damage. There's no MR onto this Sejuani. Strato has already popped the Dominus, though, which is mildly concerning. JJ just firing from afar, and you're playing this fight on 2 fronts. JJ's on the other side, is tagging with these Void Seekers so consistently onto key members, as now we see they've just been forced out of the river. Now you've got the room to play. Tidebringer losing half of their health there, and now you've got Virtuoso stepping forward. There's the baby cage onto 1, and JJ's dashing to the back line. Tidebringer going very low, but it's not quite enough. And now the fight can start. It's godlike for Virtuoso as Tidebringer will fall. There's no tide to bring today. Influentic looking, finds knock onto 2, finds the fate sealed onto 1, and now Pieball's the only one left. Will take 1, but it's a triple kill for JJ as the fight is done, and the game may very well go with it.
Yeah, this is going to be the game right here. The respawn timers are way too long for Lazy to have any hope into this one. They're going to fall to 4-4. Being a 500 team, never ideal. Same thing for 42, but it's going to feel much sweeter. Managing to overcome what was a pretty bad start. 42 going to take this victory over Lazy, and it came from a lot of different places, but Virtuoso on that Cassante was super clean with it.
Absolutely. Virtuoso, JJ definitely pulling themselves forward. Influentic with some beautiful catches as well. Everybody on 42 playing it beautifully. Not to take away from Lazy, though. A lot of shining moments of bright light. Pieball on this Vigar, able to find so many kills that should not have been found. Sim. Just Sim. That's all that's to be said. It was a very good game across the board. It just wasn't quite enough for Lazy.
It feels like 42, when they have Influentic, play even crazier. I mean, JJ, still, psycho behavior in that last fight on the Kai'Sa, just go into the backline all of a sudden, but it takes everybody on Lazy who were looking one way, and they all have to turn around because they gotta go chase the Kai'Sa. You gotta just ignore the Kai'Sa. But I think the main thing I was watching in that fight was who got stunned in the baby cage, because it's a baby cage in the middle of a big team fight. Somebody's gonna walk into it. It's not the end of the world. It was not gonna be Balmeef, which was perfect. Instead, Virtuoso walks into it. That's exactly what I want to have happen, because the Cassante can live through that one, can also be unstoppable, so is just fine. Whereas the second Balmeef gets stunned up, that's just a death pretty much instantaneously, and not having those stuns through the E-procs coming through constantly makes those team fights a lot harder. I love the way that was executed out of 42. Was it clean? God, no. I don't think 42 know how to play clean, but it was effective, and they're going to be very happy about getting themselves back to even, and they can maybe start for a late on push towards the playoffs, and towards a pretty high spot in the playoffs potentially too.
Absolutely. Now, we are going to throw to a very quick break, but I do believe that when we come back, we should have an interview with one of the members of 42 for you. Don't go anywhere. We'll hear from them very soon. Welcome back, everybody, after what was a very interesting game between Lazy in Life and 42 Gaming. We are here with an interview. Balmy, 42's jungler. How's it going? Congratulations on the win.
Hello. I'm of course happy that we won. I think it was a pretty good performance from us. I think we improved on a lot of things, and we also had a sub. And we didn't think this game would go too well, but I think we performed pretty well anyways, so I'm happy for that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely looked to be a strong game. Now, coming into draft, were there any concerns you guys had, especially, having playing with a sub? You ran out Chrissy today. So were there any concerns you had coming into draft, or was it just kind of smooth sailing, no worries?
Well, it was kind of unclear to me what are we gonna draft until like 5 minutes before the game, because Influentic is not always on time, our sub mid laner. So, and he wasn't like too early this time as well. I mean, we had time, but it was kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
But I don't know, we just kind of improvised. He picked his favorite champ. I picked my Seju OTP. So I think the draft turned out well.
I mean, it looked good, and specifically on the Sejuani, how do you find it into that Xin Zhao matchup? Because we often look at the Xin Zhaos needing to get loads of ganks off early. The Sedge can kind of sit and farm or can go very aggressively. How do you look at that matchup?
I think the matchup is fine. You obviously lose 1v1s, but you lose 1v1s anyways against Xin Zhao, almost no matter what you play. So it doesn't really matter. And we had a strong 2v2 on mid, so I was just trying to play through that. And even though they had Xin Zhao, like, they cannot beat Yone and Sejuani anyways, so we can just play mid, and they cannot do anything about it. And yeah, I usually don't even play Sejuani, but the champ is just kind of OP in competitive play, especially, so it was kind of easy.
Absolutely. And then you guys had some really interesting team fights through there. How were the comms? Obviously, with a sub, things can get a little bit less clear. Who's it that's doing the shot calling for you, and how are you looking at those team fights?
Well, we don't have a shot caller per se. It's like, I guess I was kind of shot calling most this game. I don't know, because I'm like the main engage, right? We don't have any other engage that game in our team, so I was mostly like calling the shots, but it depends on who has the engage ability. So yeah.
And that makes sense. Now, I have to ask just one final question. Tying yourselves up with Lazy, how are you feeling as a team? Are you stick in the race towards playoffs now?
Yeah, I think we are making playoffs for sure. I think we are aiming for 4th place overall at least. That's the bottom line for me, and I'm hoping for even more. So yeah, I think we are gonna make 3rd or 4th place minimum with our performance right now.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing how you guys continue out the season. Thank you so much for coming to chat to us, Balmeath, and once again, congratulations to you and the rest of the guys on the win today. Now, for those at home, don't go anywhere. We're going to have a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be having game number 3 of the day between Chaos and Fourth Wall.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back, everybody. Game number 3 is upon us. Chaos versus Fourth Wall. And as is tradition at this point, as we've done for the last 2 games, Bloxer, what can you tell us about these teams?
So they're both sat at 2 and 5 in the standings right now, so it hasn't been the best time of it for either of these teams, unfortunately. That being said, Chaos just feel like a little bit more of a complete team. They are struggling to put it together fully, but, you know, sometimes they are taking some of the top dogs a lot longer in the games to beat. Fourth Wall, it just hasn't felt like they've been able to put it together. It's really unfortunate that yesterday, technical difficulties, things ran on. We weren't able to cover that final game between Ruse and Fourth Wall, because Fourth Wall ended up winning that one, and I was very surprised. After Ruse had won that game up against Garden Gaming, I was like, right, maybe it's going to work out. You know, it was a 50-minute banger, but maybe, you know, Ruse have figured something out, and they're going to beat Fourth Wall. No, Fourth Wall ended up winning that game after losing pretty summarily 242. So I'm very confused at this point at where 42 is at. That being said, I do think Chaos are the stronger team, but this is a real battle for those bottom 2 spots. It looks like Ruse, Chaos, Fourth Wall, they're all right at the bottom, and obviously bottom 2 are the ones who really need to worry about missing players, about being knocked down. So this is going to be a very crucial one for the standings.
Certainly will be. And kind of looking across the split so far, is there anything interesting you've noticed about either of these teams in champion pools or in play styles or in anything in that sense of the word?
I mean, when it comes to Fourth Wall, they have played some pretty crazy picks. Mid lane specifically has been kind of wild. The fact that Trimey is now in instead of Eddie Bury in the top lane is also pretty interesting. Played things like the Orm, like the Gnar, so not the most explosive champion pool. That's very different to what they had before. Fourth Wall with Eddie Bury had very explosive picks up in the top lane. So there is potential for things to get a little bit crazy. I think Chaos is more where I'm looking at for things to go a little bit off the rails, potentially, specifically in that jungle pick. There is a potential for Taxfig to pull something a little bit more aggressive out. I think they've been very good on things like the Carthers, so maybe we could get a little bit of spice there.
Yep, and I feel, should clarify, do not believe JJ has come back for another game. Chaos AD Carry will be playing in place, but as we look at the bans, it's a very much heavier jungle focus in this game. We haven't seen the Hui taken away yet. Corki's still on the table, the Ezreal is still on the table. Something's getting through here.
Yeah, indeed. You are going to have to leave one of those big priority picks up and available. You can see Fourth Wall have decided they have to get rid of the Ivan. I can understand why you want to get rid of the Ivan in this situation. It is something that Taxfig is very, very good on, but if you do leave the Carthus available, we've seen in the previous couple of games what that champion can do, even if it falls really far behind. Now, I don't necessarily think it's going to be first picked right here. I could... Yeah, the Rumble getting through. Yeah, okay, fine. Fine. With the Rumble getting through, I can understand why that one is going to be grabbed right there. Could be in the jungle, could be in the top lane, can be moved around at the moment. I think in the jungle is been the higher priority recently.
Could also go mid lane.
True, true. Or support, I guess.
Yeah, or support. You know what? Sure. The Ezreal hover. The Orianna ban is an interesting one. I'm assuming Kejula is just very versed in the champion. Uncertain.
Yes,
Ezreal will be locked in for what I would assume to be for Vardogs. Could be for Wantage. Who am I to judge? But as we start to get more into these picks, we have likes of, as mentioned, the Hui is still up and available. The Corki is still up and available. You have a lot of room to move and breathe with this draft so far, with so many power picks still on the table.
Yeah, there are a lot of available options right now, and we haven't had a real pinching of the support pool. You've talked about it. You talked about it. Alright, Bash. Of all people, Bash is one of those ones who would pull out something a little bit crazy. And I think Fourth Wall, they need some spice. They need some way of being able to be like, right, this is what we're going to do right now. This is the way that we're going to win this game. Obviously, it could technically still go in support, but that's not what we're expecting, right?
No, I mean, Grishan, from my memory, very heavy on the engage style. Bash also, very similarly, quite likes just playing your straight kind of tanky engage. The Zacs, the Sejuanis, from memory, that is kind of what Bash tends to play. But if this Nora does go in the jungle, we're very interested to see how it's piloted generally. This kind of does lock picks around for Chaos, though. This 2-3 of Carthus Corki you're looking at the Corki likely going mid lane to pair up with the Karthus in the jungle, and the Rumble going top lane. Of course, the Corki can still go AD carry, but then you're looking at maybe having a triple AP topside, and things get very difficult. And you're also kind of lacking frontline, but if you're running a double AD carry comp, you want an Enchanter in that support role, so you don't have a lot of much more room to play with. I think this has just been picked in order. Xante lock-in for Chimey there into the Rumble, assumedly, is likely what we're going to be seeing, alongside the Ezreal into Undetermined and the Zyra Karthus matchup as well.
I mean, Cassante doesn't have the best time early on. Up into the Rumble, you do take a lot of damage early whilst trying to farm out those minions. If the Rumble is good at being able to keep that heat at the right level, you are going to be in a little bit of a rough spot. That being said, you don't really care. You're going to get into these team fights in a good position, whatever happens. And with this being such an important matchup between these two teams, I love that we are getting to see the Karthus. It's something that Tactific is especially good on. I think it's very good in the current meta as well. And it's kind of, I don't want to say the better version of the Zyra, because obviously the Zyra was picked first, and they are different in a lot of ways, but in terms of just how much AP damage can you do, the Karthus does more, and also I don't know how much the Zyra is going to want to invade and punish, because that's something that the Karthus is very susceptible to, and the Zyra isn't kind of that champion who's going to be looking to do that. Nautilus, we've been seeing it band-picked all the time throughout the recent years. It's so strong, and it just works really well alongside the Ezreal. You can roam away and leave the Ezreal, or you can sit in that lane and try to punish. No, not again. Not again. Not again.
We're just looking at hyperscaling with the side of Chaos, apparently. These two hovers. The silence is deafening. It's going to be the Smolder locked in for Certified there. The Snilla looking for a tank to pair up with it, you would think.
I hope you have a chair. I hope you're not standing the whole day, because we could be here a long time.
The chair is there, don't worry.
Good, because otherwise, oh boy, the Smolder that we saw yesterday just kept us in the game for so unbelievably long, and by the end, it was hurting incredibly badly. That being said, the early game sucked. It was also alongside the Karthus. I agree with that cringe at the Rakan. I guess you needed some engage somewhere, because without some engage, you have nothing. I don't know Rakan's the pick, though.
Alibaba's up and available.
I know.
So
needed the tank and the engage, and that's the alley.
You want, like, some kind of enchanter for the double AD carry, right? It makes sense. As the Ass will lock in for advantage. Interesting. Solid into the Corki. We'll touch on that in a second. I'm known as the Xayah main caster, right? People forget that I used to be a Rakan main. You don't want Rakan into Nautilus Zyra.
Yeah.
You're not going to have fun. You're going to dash in. You're not going to be able to get back out again. It's not going to be a case of you dash out, locked down and dead before you get the chance to even try. Sure, the Warmogs is going to help a little bit, but I don't think it's going to help enough. Looking more generally at these compositions, though, there's goods and bads for both sides, right? I mean, on one hand, you're very squishy. You don't really have a solid go button outside of the Rakan. And if you can't just one-shot two people off the get-go, you're going to struggle. On the flip side, though, you've got a much more standard kind of composition with some interesting elements. So, talk us through these, and then give us your prediction. Who's taking this one away?
I mean, in this game, it's fascinating. The fact that I am so appalled by the Smolder, not because I think it was the wrong pick here, just Smolder in general, that I wasn't even thinking about the fact there's a Yasuo on the other team. You're so right. Without the Rakan engage, what do you do in this game right now for Chaos? I mean, you are all in on the fact that your Rakan is going to find the engage, and then you're going to press R on everybody. Everybody's going to press R at the same time, and so much magic damage happens that somebody just dies. That is the entire game plan right here, and hopefully the Smolder also going to call Mum in, just pop through people. As Chaos, you are taking the first 20-25 minutes of this game and saying, nah, I don't like play that stage of the game, actually. We're going much later, and I think that then puts a lot of onus right here on Fourth Wall and saying, hey, you've got to try play this a lot more accelerated. I think their composition is pretty good at that in a lot of ways. At the same time, though, with like things like the Ezreal, you need some time to be able to get him to those 1-2 items to then be able to go. It's not like they've got a composition where I'm like, yes, that is the early game lane that you can play around.
I have one problem with this whole kind of Rakan engage and everybody presses R. 2 of your ultimates are blocked by Wind Wall.
Yeah.
The third really isn't an ultimate anymore.
No.
So I think that the ceiling of execution is significantly higher for Chaos, but so is the floor.
Yeah.
If you can't hit that floor of execution, you're just going to get run through. Whereas Fourth will have a much lower ceiling, but a much lower floor to go with it. There's only so much you can do with this composition into this opponent if you can get to it, and it's a bit different. Now, who do you predict to win this game?
I think it's gonna suck the whole way there, but I think Chaos are gonna take this one. I think we're gonna see the Smolder get online late enough into this game and be able to pick this one up. I think that Fourth will have had some real problems with being able to actually close out games, and they have had a situation where they have drafted the composition where they need to close out a game early, and since they're not great at that, I do worry that this game is just going to get stalled out. I think we could be in a situation where they're pretty far ahead, maybe even 10,000 gold ahead, but they're not quite able to close out this game. The Smolder starts getting the stacks, the Karthus is full build, and just destroying people with one ult press. It's a really, really strange composition, to be honest. Out of both of these teams, a little bit more so, obviously, on the side of Chaos, but I just think that they're going to be able to take this one.
I mean, Aspect of Chaos is as Aspect of Chaos does. There's a team called Chaos. I can't say no.
Yeah, I mean, it's there.
Yeah, the script writes itself. It's great. Now, we will be into game shortly. We are experiencing a short pause for one of the players having a mouse issue, but we will be in game very, very soon. But as you mentioned, we're not really looking for anything early in this game. So in regards to early objectives, Grubbies and Dragon, what do you think we're going to be seeing coming out of these junglers? Do you think one side's going to prioritize one over the other? Do you think we're going to see big skirmishing over them? As we, I'll hold that thought. I'll ask you that question again in a second. As the game is now ready, let's load onto the Rift for game number 3, everybody.
Let's go. I want to see this one. I mean, I see the Smolder. I don't love the Smolder, but that's just because I was scarred a little bit yesterday. Let's see what you can do with it. Now, Zyra on the board, you're asking what happens early. Zyra ganks early can be really impactful. Obviously, most AP junglers prefer to just sit in the jungle, farm. They're not interested in getting involved too early. I think Zyra can do that, certainly, but I would actually rather see Bash get involved in these lanes and use all of the CC setup that Zyra has to get these lanes ahead and accelerate the game. Don't put yourself in that situation where you are late on, where you do have the Karthus and the Smolder getting online.
Yeah, I think if you can close this game out quickly, you have to. You don't really get to play the long game into Smolder Karthus. It's just not really a thing. Although it is worth mentioning that with Smolder having lost access to Spellblade on that Essence Reaver, he's significantly weaker.
Yeah, it's not going to be anywhere near as strong as it used to be, right? But do you think that is going to be enough? Yeah.
The answer to that
one.
question is very, very interesting. Because I've played a good bit of Smolder since the changes came in, and the champion is still fairly broken.
Yeah.
In pretty much every lane I've been in, as we see a bit of an invade coming in for Chaos here, I'm going to hold that thought. So it looks like we could see a bit of a fight. Chimey and Bash here, Wantage moving in now as well. Nikui going very low. The Ignite dropped onto Wantage. It's a decent trade for now, but there's a lot of health being lost. Wantage stepping back forwards, a lot of damage going down. Taxvig now looking onto the top side of the fight. There's the plants. They've been set up though. The dash forward, catch onto Taxvig. First blood for Bash, and now Nikui is solo as well. Kajila will take back onto Chimey. Nikui runs away, but already trading the 1-for-1, already falling behind on this Karthus. Everything is falling to tatters.
It's not exactly ideal as we watch Grizzon just split the uprights with that one. It doesn't particularly matter. It's still going to be a ton of damage being put down by Vardags. Certified really does not do a lot of damage at this early point. Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to take an Ezreal over a Smolder at this point in the game, especially when you pair up with the Nautilus. I'm really not going to be able to do much. God, I feel like Grizzon doesn't have the lollipopping on.
I was going to say, I thought that landed.
Yeah, remember, you're playing Nautilus. You hit those. hopefully the champion remembers that it's a little bit busted and should be landing in all situations. As
Importantly, the barrier was popped there for Certified.
yeah, not
That's
having that
insane.
is so bad early on, as we can see Chimey just taking so much damage. This is what we were talking about in this early laning phase. It's just an awful time early on. Trying to step up to the wave, you're going to get pushed in constantly. We are really getting to see that played out in the top lane, but once you get a couple of levels under your belt, if you can all in onto this Rumble, then it is actually a pretty decent matchup. It turns into a bit more of a skill one. You just have to keep your health high enough and not give over an early solo kill. As Grizzin, go over this wall, try for a hook. Kajila, Spidey senses or something, is just going to step back. It was a reset coming through out of Vardags, is going to be able to get back into lane. Already has that tier, and that's just going to be stacking up. It's a little bit of a, hey, I'm just happy to sit in this lane, not too worried about getting overly aggressive. Bash, though, is going to try gank. Nah, not going to work out on that one. We have had a lot of action for just 4 minutes, 45 seconds into this game. Taking stock, first blood, it went over to Bash, didn't it?
Yes. Did go over to Bash.
That's a lot of gold, but still hasn't come through. Neither Bash or Kajila, the two who managed to pick up the kills, have actually been able to base yet, so their advantage is not actually going to manifest until those first recalls come through. Beyond that, the fact that you managed to put behind this Karthus feels pretty good early on, but the Karthus is inevitable. You just have to use this little bit of delay that the Karthus got as effectively as possible. Bash has been proactive so far, and finally gets back to base. Gonna buy some boots as well, just to try to get around this map even faster. So I do like the look of that. But Taxfig, you know, I don't think you're going to be too worried about the fact that you lost out a little bit early on. This could be bad, though.
Straight in the face of Bash. Nikui is around the corner, though, taking so much damage. This Zyra with Sacred Ashes, it does so much damage. Isn't able to get the chickens back for their trouble, but it's a good chunk onto Taxfig. And now you've got Chimey moving as well. Kajila has to leave, so doesn't look like anything's going to happen here, but this top side already proving to be very, very explosive, and we're just only hitting 5 minutes into the game.
Vardags is sat in a 2v1 and is,
oh my lord,
winning this one pretty decidedly. I think me and you, we're in agreement right now that we didn't love the recon pick, and it's really being borne out right now. Grizzin is going to come in, there is a flash on Certified, misses the hook.
Doesn't quite land. Sniller now going quite low. The Ignite is ticking. Has to flash away. Might still burn to death. Vardags was ignited as well. Is surviving for now. Certified just trying to kite away. No deaths will go down. All summoners blown for everybody bar Certified, who has both still remaining.
And that's just another engage right there where Grizzin not quite able to land the hook. Would potentially have gotten a kill over, but I really don't think Grizzin is really needed in this bot lane. Just gonna sort of show up, help the wave be pushed through, get some aggression down on Certified and Schniller. But Vardags is fine in this 2v1 right now, and that really opens up Grizzin to go roam around with Bash. When you have two supports roaming around together with as much CC as these two champions have, that is a great way to be able to put a lot of pressure on elsewhere, and I'd really like to see these two linking up a lot more and just making it so the rest of the map isn't able to just sit and not worry about things. They're constantly going to have to be under threat from this support jungle duo. Taxfig going to be picking up this first set of grubs. We did see the early Drake going over to 4th wall, so it is going to be the standard trade.
Yeah, nothing too explosive. First dragon that went down was Ocean, so we are not going to see an Ocean solve this game. It looks like it's either Hextech or Chemtech for that second dragon. If we could get a check in for that in just a second, that would be amazing. As Grishan looking onto Kajila here, Vantage does find the knock-up, doesn't opt for the ultimate just yet. Grishan now here. Valkyrie will keep them safe. Sniller has arrived as well. The root will go down. There is the wind wall out. Does still have the nado. Gonna throw it just now. Bash has arrived as well. Could catch Sniller on the re-rotation. The root does tag. There's the hook. There's the ultimate as well. So much damage coming out. It's gonna be able to just W over the wall. The flash from Bash means that Sniller may just fall here. Caught on the rotation back to lane, and now Certified cannot step back forwards. It's a Chemtech dragon for dragon number 2. Thank you,
indeed.
production.
Yeah, thank you, Zoe, for showing us that one. And, I mean, I think getting the Chemtech early on, get it out of the way, is going to be pretty huge right here for 4th wall, as they're able to use this combo once again, nice effectively. Like we said, Grizz and Bash, they can work together. Vantage, though, is going to get surrounded in his own jungle.
Certainly is. Bash is now arriving. The flash away is good. The Ignite, it might not tick down Taxig. taking a lot of damage
Chimey
as well.
over the
Chimey
wall.
is here now as well. The flash forward is good. There's the stun. Should allow to back into the team. Nikui able to get the scrap barrier down. Slowed again, all out into dead. Given to Bash. It's a killing spree for this Zyra player who we so used to seeing onto these tankier picks, picking up a carry and running with it.
I love this Zongul right now, already looking so good onto Bash, and it's the kind of pickup for Bash that I just absolutely love. I think that they look best when they can get really aggressive with something. Obviously, the Zyra, not the standard pick that you would think of when you think of hyper-aggressive pickups, but I think it's being played really well, as Snilla is going to get jumped on, does have the dashes to get away. Kajila is in the area, though.
There's the mom. Kajila down here now, no mana. Grissom may just fall. There's the Requiem. The might of Karthus. Not to find anything just yet. But Certified Flash forward onto Vardags. It's a kill going across there as well. So 2 very quick kills onto this bot lane. Off of the back of what was just global pressure.
Yeah, and that is going to be a little bit of a fight back. That being said, Bash
Snilla.
might just be able to kill Snilla. I don't
Baited
think they have the
ashes.
burn yet. Not yet, but after that first items completed and the burns are coming through, yeah, that would have been 1 dead Rakan. We take a look at where the kills are at the moment. You can see 3-0-0 right here for Bash is going to have pretty decent lead for the minute, but this Corki is also getting some kills. And in terms of just keeping yourself even, don't fall behind, keep yourself in this game, I think that's what Chaos really need to do. Fourth wall, they want to be pulling ahead. I think Chaos are going to be relatively happy with the way that this early game has gone. As long as you can deal with the Zyra, which, easier said than done, obviously, this hasn't gone terribly. Getting your Corki ahead, there's a reason he's one of the highest priority pick bans at the moment. You can just take over a lane, and the poke you can lay down with all of those rockets is huge.
Absolutely. I mean, it kind of matches this Ezreal poke coming out, right? You're looking at a lot of Mystic shots flying, just standard. But the Corki rockets, as you get later into the game and you start, you know, not needing to use as much mana, it's quite good. Snilla now going to be caught up by Grishan, able to dash away for now. The Ignite was dropped. Should be able to survive for now, but Wantage and Bash are here as well. Tower is starting to go down. The hook will go wide. There is no minions under the tower for that that dive to come through. Looking possibly keep this play going with the next wave, but Snilla Certified just going to sit back quite happily. No real threat so far. Could we get a stack check onto Certified just very quickly? Sitting at 78, so close to that second threshold of 125.
Obviously, very, very early on at this point. You're really looking for that
Yes.
400 or so point to be completely popping off us. That's another good hook landing, and that may well be 2 kills.
It may just be. There's the mom to keep them alive for now, and the wave just going to keep blocking Mystic shots. They get out with no right to keep living. Grishan very low. Could look for a return hook. Snilla stepping very aggressively forwards. Does use that dash away. The plate will just be forfeit. They get out with their lives, shockingly. And, I mean, 400 stacks on a Smolder is very hard to attain now.
We saw it in the previous game.
Well, it's a 50-minute game. I should hope so, right?
Yeah. It was a 500 stack Nasus and a 500 stack Smolder.
Yeah.
And it still didn't win.
At that point, it's like I'm hoping the burn is doing a call from someone.
It was. Don't you worry. It was indeed. I very much would be surprised to see it in this game. I mean, we are once again kind of looking for that 250 point, really, for the Smolder to be like, yeah.
225, 250 is right.
This is the point at which this Smolder is like, yeah, this is online. This is doing a lot. For the minute, though, Vardags still having a great time. It's up by about 20 CS as well. So you can see where all of this advantage is. Swantage going to get a little bit aggressive. Both of the supports are hanging around in the area. Bash is also here. Snilla, obviously, going to be pretty mobile. Not too worried about getting jumped on by Grissom. As soon as Bash arrives, though, just going to have to back off. And we could end up seeing a scrap over these chickens. Although, I think at this point in the game, Fourth Wall would come out pretty solidly on top of that one. So, yeah, Chaos not going to try to fight for those. Bash going to steal those away, although is still down a decent chunk in CS as well. It's just been a very back and forth early game. Not a ton of kills, only 6 between the two teams right now, but not for lack of trying.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Definitely doing their best to, you know, try and be scrappy, but nothing quite going the way of either team so far. Yeah, I've got first item completed for Bash now, alongside Nihui and Chimey. So we start to get into this point. Second dragon to go across to fourth wall. be a Mountain Soul. So we shall see if there is any contest for that at a 0.6 grubs for Chaos on the other hand, though. So definitely some side lane pressure as we get later into this game, as well as just very good siege potential. That's Snilla dashing forward for Certify. The wave is going to keep them safe for now, but Bash is here again.
The wave is really doing a lot of work, right?
Yes.
Vardax is, wave MVP at this point in the game. Obviously, I'm expecting that to change as we're going to get jumped, forced off of this tower. Even if you don't get the kill, you're still pumping more and more plates right now into Vardax. You're going to be more than happy with the way that this one is shaking out. Unlikely to be able to pick up the full tower. Obviously going to be very tanky at this point, but Hook lands.
Hook onto Certified, but Snilla doing everything they can to keep them alive. And the execute coming through onto Grissom will at least trade 1 for 2. It's not ideal, but you'll take it. The Requiem getting the damage up. You do lose the tower, and the kill goes over to Vardax, but it's not ideal. Now Kajila and Tarzvig looking
the dashes.
Vantage, but he's just everywhere. And now Bash is here onto Kajila. Vantage dashing forwards. Kajila, no real mana, has to flash away. Nado won't land, and there's the blast cone.
No!
Very good tech coming out of Bash and Vantage there, using the blast cone as an allied knockup for the Astro ultimate. Beautifully done.
Oh, I love that little bit of play right there. The second that you step on top of the blast cone, you're just sort of screaming at Bash to hit it. Pop that one. I mean, almost feels like a situation where, as Kajila, you don't want to step near that one at all. As long as you're in range of Vantage, you are gonna get popped right there.
It feels a bit like a Tom and Jerry skit.
It does, a little bit. That is incredibly funny to watch. I'd love to see it with a little bit of clown music over the top of, not necessarily that Kajila did anything wrong. It was a little bit over-aggressive to try to dive onto Vantage. The amount of mobility that this Yasuo has is insane, but it was just a really good response out of Forthal, and I think that's what we've been seeing more than anything. The 100% kill participation on Bash is the main point throughout this early game, right? Bash has been so proactive, has been everywhere on the map. Look at this. It's a beautiful Zyra skin, and it's beautifully executed. Plus, we've got that Leandri's finished as well, so the burn is going to come through. There's a couple of kills that they were not able to pick up that now you are going to get. Low health bars are no longer going to be a safe space to be in. They're going to use this advantage that they have got for themselves right here. Forthwall going to pick themselves up this Herald, and I really doubt we're going to see any sort of response.
No, it's very hard to try anything. Kajila not got that TP. Nikui forced under the tower in that top side. The Herald will go down. The Dragon is up in 50 seconds, and that has to be on Forthwall's radar as well. It's Grissom looking aggressively in the mid lane, isn't quite able to find anything. Bash moving up towards this top side, just trying to secure whatever they can. If they can knock down this top side outer, they suddenly have so much more room to play with on sides, and then can commit resources in towards this mid lane. Just going to drop the red carpet to clear the wave.
And this tower is going to go down right here as well. So we're seeing quite a lot of these structures falling. Something I think we... Oh, hang on, Vantage needs to be careful here. Is going to get collapsed upon. Spots the risky situation. Snilla arrives a little bit too late to be that bit of CC that you need. And that's kind of the thing with this Chaos composition, right? If you don't have the Rakan there, people can just sort of walk away from you. You're very reliant on at least hitting a stun, hitting a slow, or something maybe to be able to set yourself up for these kills. There are 3 Leandries in this game. I mean, the burns are going to be just crazy right now, and...
Good hook onto Snilla. Able to dash away, though, is the only real concern. TP in from Kajila, but there's no real follow-up. Once that Yasuo ultimate's down, another hook lands onto Kajila, and now everybody starts to come forwards, going very low, but no death just yet. The Zyra ult goes a little bit wide. Health bars are very low, but Forthwall gain control of the river and can just get themselves the soul point.
Just going to be able to walk over and pick this one up nice and easily, and that being soul point already just 16 minutes into this game is pretty insane. Shiny also going to be able to teleport top lane to stop any potential of that tower going down. And this early game has gone how Forthwall wanted it to. And I'm not that surprised. Their early games haven't been terrible. It's the late game where Forthwall just haven't been able to put it together, unfortunately. Can they? In this situation? I mean, they have basically everything they could have wanted out of this early game. Given a couple more kills over to the Smolder, over to the Corki than you would potentially want. I don't think that is going to be the end of the world. I mean, could get collapsed on right here. I don't see that going badly for them. No, indeed. Chime just going to walk away. So can Fourth Wall close this one out? Because they have all of the tools they need into a composition that takes a long time to scale up. First items now completed, with the second items coming in. That's the point at which I think Fourth Wall need to take this game and run with it. In order to do so, it's going to be all about the hooks out of Grizzon and potentially just the flank engages out of Chimey.
Yes, you are looking at a couple of different avenues. Maybe a good catch out of Bash as well could be a bit of a deal breaker for Chaos. We shall see as time goes on, but nothing up and available just yet. So if anything happens, it will be pressuring this mid lane tier 1, opening that map up properly. See how time goes. But if you are Chaos, how do you stem this bleeding?
You, to be honest, need to just sit a little bit further back, because Grizzon is being incredibly aggressive with these hooks, and stepping up to try to fight for these objectives just isn't working out at this point in the game. That being said, having given over that soul point already is not good. It means that you really can't afford to allow this Mountain Drake to go over, because that just increases the bar at which you need to get to start winning out these team fights, right? You're still going to be able to execute people through that Mountain Soul, but you just take that little bit longer, and I don't know how much longer Chaos are going to have. So as long as they can sit back, chill, at least for the next 3 minutes, and then go fight for this Drake, I think that's going to be an okay way of doing this. They're getting engaged on again, though.
Good hook onto Taxvig. Nothing really to follow. Grizzon is just dead, but 3 ultimates dropped for it. Is not the situation you want to be in. 3 minutes into the Dragon, as you say, so it's not the end of the world, but the Baron is up in 40 seconds. Most of those ultimates will be back up. Who picked up the kill? I didn't see. Was it Nihui?
I think it was Nihui, yeah. It must have been. It must have been, because there were 2 kills already going elsewhere. Zilla had to go engage there, otherwise they were just going to lose their ADC. Certified survives because of the bravery of the support. Baron, though, spawning in 15 seconds time, and that is going to be a main objective for Fourth Wall. They need to keep the pressure up in this game. They have slipped a little bit. Some of the over-aggression, not even over-aggression, some of the aggression out of Grizzon has been punished because the rest of the team wasn't full committing to these fights. You know, Grizzon goes in, lands the hook, the rest of the team's like, oh, I don't know if we can follow up, and you just lose your support. A couple of times, not the end of the world, but if that keeps happening, that is a definite avenue for Chaos to get themselves back into this game, and with the Baron up and available, that becomes something even harder to do, because Grizzon needs to find these engages so you can go take the Baron. You can't just steal it away. I don't think you're going to have to get that first kill, but you need to be prepared to follow up with Grizzon and use your advantage as you have it right now.
Taxvig just losing their entire jungle to Certified as it stands. Can we get a stack check on this? Because I would assume that would mean we are getting very close to execute. Very close indeed. Less than 15 stacks away. Snilla taking a lot of damage, Certified as well. Rylai is now completed for Bash. Tower's just going to go down. 11 stacks and Smolder's online.
Yeah, oh, Kajila just going to have to go over the wall, but I don't know if they're going to get there. They are.
Okay, there's the flash over from Wantage. So good blast cone, and now Snilla's here to catch out Wantage. It will just be a return for Kajila. Too quick on the button for that last breath. Will just spell the end for Wantage.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Wantage has already used that one in the first bit of that fight. Really needed it for that over-the-wall fight. Instead, doesn't have it, just going to get taken out, and that's a really good return kill. And this is the thing with Chaos's composition. Portal, they don't necessarily know which fights to go for, where to find their advantages, even when they are in a good spot in this game. And you could just feel that creeping inevitability of the Karthus, of this Smolder. Like you said, they're very, very close to having that execute unlocked. Very, very close indeed. And at that point, these fights go from being pretty solidly in Fourth Wall's favour to being just a lot harder to execute. Very soon, for this next Drake spawning, Fourth Wall, they would love to pick it up. I don't know if they're going to be able to, though.
If my counting is correct, 2 more stacks for Certified. And it is that time. Kajila teeping into the river. This Dragon is going to be the next big objective to look at, and everybody is here, ready and waiting. 2-2-4. 1 more ability landed. 1 more minion killed with Q. That is all is needed for Smolder to truly come online. And you just know, the second a fight starts, health bars are going to start to vanish.
Oh, Baron pings coming through from fourth wall. They know that everybody from Chaos escaped out of the pit around the bottom side of the map. They're still going to be able to get here to this pit, but there is a tiny window potentially to try steal it away. The teleport coming in, this is a full commit from fourth wall.
It is, and it's melting. The damage is so good. There's the Zyra ultimate flash, buff up the plants. Nihui is here as well. There's the Mom, now going at 4,000 health. There's the ultimate on to Certified. Snilla is in alongside Vardags, and it's slain by Bash. But Smolder is online, and the fight can start to run. Fourth wall can do for now is run. Vardags stuck in the backside of the pit, and now Tagsvig stepping too far forward. Is just going to die.
He doesn't care.
The Requiem is good, and there's so many low health bars. There's one already dead in Grishin. Bash running for the hills. It's a big shutdown on their head. Vardags stopping the rest of the team out. Nihui flashing forward. Snilla jumping forward for it. It's not enough. Snilla going so low. It's going to be traded across. I think Nihui dies as well. Bash finding another 2 on the backside of that fight is insane.
Yeah, Bash just managing to clean house right now. This has been an incredible performance on this Zyra. Even if this ends up being a loss for fourth wall, I think Bash can be very proud of the way that this game has played out. 3 Barons do manage to escape right there for fourth wall. I think it was a brilliant call out of them to know that you just had the tiniest of windows, but that is a Smolder going into a team fight where you are just over the threshold of getting your execute. Imagine in another 10 minutes time, just how terrifying this Smolder can be. That being said, hey Luna, are we not very happy that they changed the Smolder so other people can't proc the execute? Because in that team fight, with that Requiem coming down, it would have probably been a quadra kill, if not just a full ace.
Yeah, it's very handy that they decided to do that. And also the fact that they changed it to the execute go up with stacks, but instead the burn damage goes up with stacks.
Yeah.
As someone who played a lot of release Smolder, you know, even I'm happy that's gone. It got rid of a lot of the... Yes, I play pretty much any AD carry releases because I'm just that stuck in my role at this point.
I haven't played a new champion in years. I think the last new champion I played was Set.
Good choice, to be fair.
Hey, he's fun. He's really good fun. No sets in this game, no sets for a while, to be honest, but the Smolder is doing really well. I mean, at this point, sure, you didn't get as many kills as the release Smolder would have, but you're still gonna be very, very happy with picking up the couple that you did and taking a couple of those Baron buffs away. This Baron power play out of fourth wall has not been that strong at the moment. I mean, oh, I really thought Wantage was gonna go in onto that one, I gotta be honest. I'm very surprised, actually, about the restraint being shown to not go in. This could be the engage.
It could be. There's the ultimate on Kachila. There's the ultimate on Wantage. The hook does land as well. It's just a dead Corki. The shutdown go across the Wantage. There's the Requiem. Shouldn't do much of anything with that shield bow into effect as well. It's a very good catch.
It is a very, very good catch. The shield bow being procced is at least something in return, but it's a pretty short cooldown. So you're not going to be too worried about that one as Wantage right now. And they're going to be able to push onto this bottom lane turret. I don't know if somebody's going to be able to get there in time to respond. Yeah, indeed, you are going to just pull Tagsvig down into this bottom lane. And so the Baron power play not necessarily picking up structures at the moment, but you still get that 1,500 off of just killing it, and then you're able to get a couple of kills and use the tempo of the reset to just keep the pressure up. This is fourth wall using it about as effectively as they can, with a very short range composition that's always going to struggle to actually siege onto these towers.
Yeah, the real thing you want for sieging in this game is you want Bash and Vardags to just be able to throw out abilities, chunk out a couple of members, and then look to fight. A lot of the fights we've been seeing have been very quick, very forced. You're going in at full health. You haven't given these champions time to allow their damage to come out. And for Vardags, you also haven't allowed time for that spell force to stack up, rising spell force to stack up either. So you start losing out on some of that attack speed as well. So a couple of things that could make this a bit easier for. But for now, still going very much in their favor.
Where's the engage? Where's the engage right now? Because, I mean, for Chaos, it really is just the Rakan. Snilla finding it very hard to actually find that initial bit of engage. Teleport coming in. This is huge.
This is very... They just don't want to give over soul, but the damage coming out of Vardags is insane. Bash has found two.
Wow.
On the route. The knockup will land onto one, and Snilla is trying everything they can, but Kajila is deleted from the fight. Snilla next to fall as well. Nihui next on the list, but the Requiem plus the Smolder Burn is enough to take one in return. Vantage will fall. There's the Mom, but there's no damage dropping onto Chimey. Certified, the only member left standing, and now there's no real way to try stealing this away. Vardag's dashing over the wall. It's a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage. A good flash coming out of Certified, and there Vardag should burn to death. The All-Out will carry the Smolder further away, and it's a shutdown. It will be soul secured, as well as a clean ace for the side of Fourth Wall.
And without that initial engage out of Bash, that fight does not work, but it is huge. Bash using everything so effectively right there. I mean, that ult, right? That was possibly one of the best Stranglethorns I've seen in quite a while. It doesn't actually catch as many people as you would have expected, but it just bought so much space, stopped that initial bit of engage out of Chaos from working out, and then it does catch on to enough members to get those kills. Still, Smolder was able to pick up a couple on the back side of that fight. And you are just so scared. The amount of damage that the Requiem did, the amount of damage that Certified was able to do, even without any frontline, just makes me worried a little bit. But Fourth Wall, they are keeping themselves in a good spot in this game. 3,000 ahead and having that soul. It's just that much harder now to be able to pick up those kills, get people into that execute range. Although, this is now going to be a pretty early Elder. 5 minutes until that Elder Dragon is going to spawn. And in 5 minutes' time, Chaos are going to be that much stronger. They're going to have that many more stacks.
Definitely will. 3 items now coming in from most everybody on the side of Chaos. Least of all, this double AD carry, which is where a lot of your late game is riding on at current. We shall see how that plays out. The Baron is up and available. Chaos posturing around it quite aggressively, but Bash has just been doing so much work all game long. And I think if you want to win a fight as Chaos, you have to catch the Zyra out.
Having that Zhonya's as well is going to be huge because it means it's that much harder to actually catch onto Bash. Oh, look at the damage that this Zyra does. Certified also going to take a chunk. The amount of burn that you can do, the Rylai's slows as well, makes it so hard to play these fights.
The Baron's just been started by Chaos?
Yeah, Chaos are just going to start this one up. The teleport coming in from Vantage.
There's the flash over from Bash. Does manage to catch onto Taxvig. The Equalizer not going to tag onto anybody as Vardag's going to pick up the kill there. The Requiem coming down. Vantage on the backline. Kajila able to flash away from the damage, but suddenly the entirety of Chaos is pushed out, and the Baron has stayed leash, and it's already dead. Bash has just been melting it.
Yeah, the Baron already was down to about half HP once Chaos were forced off of it, and Fourth Wall just kept it up and going. Schniller also now just going to have to jump over the wall.
Nah.
Right.
Nah. There it is.
There you go. It's very hard to catch a Rakan in a situation like that, especially when you've got friends over the wall. That's not going to be a Baron for Fourth Wall, and they're going to be pushing forward, trying to crack the base. The scaling is online for Chaos, but it just doesn't feel like they can find the fights. It's really hard when it is just the Rakan as your engage. We said it during the draft, we've said it again and again throughout this game. They just don't have the engage to be able to make these champions work.
I mean, and once again, Bash finding the perfect angle over the wall into the fight allows for it to start to go massively in favor of Fourth Wall. Doing so much work this game, allowing so much space, and now the second inhibitor tower, the hook lands onto one. Vantage flying in as well. Sniller should just fall here. And suddenly, every health bar is gone. The Bash did so much damage. Vantage did so much damage. This could just be the game. 2 Baron empowered waves crashing in. Kajila certified, Nihui and Taxvig, the only ones left alive. There's the dash forward from Chimey onto Nihui. Will just fall, and now everybody's dashing for Kajila, getting caught out by Vardags. Chimey will fall to the Smolder execute. The hook lands onto the Smolder. No. The Smolder is dead, and that is just the game. It's clean, it's calm, it's collected. There's no Requiem. Fourth Wall will take their win against Chaos.
I did not trust in Fourth Wall to be able to close that game out, but they did. They found some good fights. I really enjoyed the way that they played this game. They didn't get as far ahead as I would have liked, but Bash on this Zyra jungle was so clean with it. Incredible performance.
Chef's kiss from Bash, honestly, finding everything and anything to give Fourth Wall that lead. Honestly, the MVP of the game for me.
Yes.
Just without a doubt. Did so much work. Chaos, they almost reached the point they needed to get to, but it wasn't quite enough today. Now, we are going to go to a very short break. When we return, we will have one of the members of Fourth with us for an interview. Don't go anywhere. We'll hear what they have to say very soon. Welcome back, everybody. We have Bash with us after that very decisive game in favor of Fourth Wall up against Chaos. How are you doing, Bash?
I'm doing fine. After a bit of a lost streak, we're back. 2-game win streak. It feels good, and the morale is high on the team. So
What we like to hear. Now, I'm going to jump straight in with it. Coming into draft in this game, were there any concerns that you guys have? I mean, a lot of power picks were left open, right? We're looking at the Zyra. We've seen a lot of Hui being taken away. Of course, that Rumble, the Corki. Were there any concerns for you guys coming into the draft, or did you kind of have a set plan that you followed to a T?
I mean, I remember Greason, my support. He does a lot of drafts, right? He's the goat. We were kind of worried about the Rumble, Vi, Oriana, like the Wombo combo, right? So that was a part of our draft ideas to like not let that go through at least, right? And then securing a AP jungler for me to create some havoc on the Rift. It's also game plan, right? That was usually what we went with.
Yeah, and I mean, it clearly worked out very effectively for you. I think we'll zoom in a little bit onto that Zyra pick. It clearly worked incredibly well for you. You seemed pretty proactive with it early on as well. Is that what you think the Zyra is good at? Because often the AP junglers are more about just sitting in the jungle, farming up. The Karthus is a great example of that. Do you think the Zyra can actually be a lot more proactive?
I mean, it's still something that like I'm figuring out, right? Because we had our second game where it was Karthus and 4-0, where we lost that game, right? Because I was not too proactive. So I'm doing a little bit of a newer playstyle because you get so much free time in the jungle with this pick, right? So you clear so fast, so you have so much time on the map where I can just sit and do objectives and sit bot and pressure, and then we can kind of use our tempo in this way. Also because they had Smolder, so
Yeah.
we wouldn't really want to play slow in on this game.
Yeah, absolutely. You are so right about not wanting to play slow with the Smolder. When you saw that draft that had come out of Chaos right there, what were your thoughts? Because we were sat here like, that's a little bit of a crazy draft. They kind of only had the Rakan for the engage. Were you worried about anything in that draft beyond, Smolder going super late game?
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest worry was that they had a lot of poke, and if we didn't set it up correctly, like we saw on the fourth Drake, I think, where they got it, then we could be like in big trouble if they could get a good rumble out, and we were just like splitting apart. So I think that was the main part. Right?
Yeah, and I mean, one final question for you just before we let you go. Coming off the back of this game, how are you feeling in your playoffs? Are you confident going into the next couple of weeks of games, or are things still a little bit touch and go? We'll see what happens.
I mean, I think there's been ups and downs in the fourth wall roster, right? We have had a swap of our top laner, and a bit of a lost streak, but I think we're pretty good right now, and we're just looking forward, taking it game by game, and having some fun. So I think we can probably take it far. So.
Brilliant. That is exactly what we love to hear. Thank you so much for coming to chat to us, Bash. Once again, congratulations on the win. And for those of you at home, do not go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll have our last game of the day between Rose and Unique, who currently sit top of the table. So it'll be an interesting bash between the two teams. Pun not intended. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon. Welcome back, everybody. It is that time. It is our last game of the day between Rosé and Unique. Now, Unique, they have a titan in the league, I believe, only having dropped the one game. Rosé, on the other hand, not having such a great time. Bloxer, better run us through these teams a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Unique have been a dominant force in the league so far. They lost to Garden Gaming. They actually got taken pretty far by Lazy, which was a little bit surprising, honestly, after the performance we saw from them up against 42. So they're not infallible. You know, you can get yourself some leads. It's just an unfortunate situation with Unique, where it feels like they just team fight better than you do. They'll be scrappy, it'll be back and forth, and then all of a sudden they're going to ace you, they're going to win the game. Super crazy. Ruza, they have not been having a good time. They picked up a win against Garden Gaming, they looked good in it, so it's not like this team cannot find wins, but it's just really unfortunate that they just don't really know where to play through. The most effective we've seen from them has been when they play through Anibot, so I'm hoping they can do that again today.
Be interesting to see, and of course, on the other side, Unique, very known names there, specifically this bot lane in Deadhound and Touch. Been around for a little while. The Ivan and Zyra bans starting to come through. We'll start to see how these teams, where these teams put their priority and how they want to come into this draft as the bans go forwards. Although with both the Ivan and the Aatrox being removed, we are looking at, again, possibly one or two of these power picks starting to make it to the surface.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, how many of these sort of niche picks can you ban away and then still have all of those priority picks covered? You really can't, so we are going to see something slide through. We've seen a lot less priority on the Tristana today than we have in previous weeks, so I am a little bit surprised by that. We could well see it today, though. Anibot can play that one incredibly effectively, and I think would like to be able to pick that one up, especially when you have that red side for Ruza. A first pick of the Tristana I think works really well. You can still flex it down into the bottom lane if you want that one. Be interesting to see if Unique are going to ban that one away. Dusty, Deadhound, they both play that way, so that one being taken off the board makes a lot of sense. It is going to be left open and available. Do Ruza have something else specific they really want to pick up, or... No, I mean, when you leave it open and the red side has the ability to pick it up, I would be very surprised if this one isn't locked in.
Absolutely, and I mean, the triple AP jungler ban away, though, definitely makes it a little... in a real option you've got left available. Really looking at that Lilia, which does struggle with some tankier CC-heavy champions in the jungle. Even some of the AD bruisers tend to have a little bit of a happier time with it. It's just going to be the Tristana Corki trade, though. Something that we have seen a lot of. Again, both these champions very flexible. Nautilus pickup potentially for Touch. Maokai also very solid. Denial of Maokai Triss, which is, as everybody can tell you, a solid 2v2. It's basically just a jungle AD support duo as mid jungle. Very strong, so denying that away from the side of Rosé, very solid. See what the response is on the other side. Are we expecting anything really interesting coming through in this draft, Max?
I think for Ruza, I just want to see them be aggressive with it. The Lilia is available, the Rumble is still up and available potentially if you want it for Panda. If not, if you do just go towards the Sejuani, then I want to see aggression through the rest of these lanes. No, that's perfect. I like that. I mean... Okay, in terms of AP jugglers, it worries me a lot, but I think as Ruza up against Unique, as the top of the table versus the bottom of the table, you have to pull something out, and this is definitely something. If you pair it up with a Kai'Sa, the poke before you get into teamfights is terrifying.
Ceiling of execution is very high for this composition so far, though. No front line, very skill shot heavy composition, and I mean, you're into a Maokai. Let's be honest here. Maokai probably... because the Kai'Sa, in order for the poke to be effective, has to go that AP route as well. Maokai is a champion that does not mind stacking MR, right? I mean, you're sitting quite happily as someone who can just kind of, same as Mundo, just pick up a Spirit Visage because it suits you.
Absolutely.
Anything.
I mean, that too. That also, you get a Koenig Rooken early on Archfiend, and you just do not die. It's a good front line, isn't it?
Yeah. And suddenly, Nidalee doesn't really get to exist. I hate to say it, but this champion is an assassin for a reason. Taking away the Rumble as well, just it kind of solidifies that fact.
The Corki can die?
If you're ever hitting the Corki instead of one of the two frontline, I have major questions, for one. But on the other hand, like... you also just don't have a lot of outright damage for the team fight anymore, right? I mean, you've got Tristana Kai'Sa, who are don't get me wrong, but Nidalee doesn't really provide too much in that instance. She's a bit of a glorified heal bot when team fights come.
I need some traditional engage to round this composition out. I think that you need something like the Leona, something like the Alistar in that support role, pair it up with the Kai'Sa, get an aggressive bot lane for the Kai'Sa. Whatever else you're up against, the Ezreal has slid through, so that could well be the pickup for Deadhound if it's not going to be the Corki. Leona is going to get banned out by Ruza. I don't love that. I would have liked to seen it picked up for Banio instead. See what the pickup is going to be right here for Unique. Hovering on towards a couple of the ADCs, you would expect to get that counter pick left over to touch. Okay. I mean, this is very unique. They love a good team fight. They've got some setup. They want a little bit of damage. Yeah, it's very Deadhound. The only thing we don't really know at this point is likely going to be Touch's pickup, although it could well be the Maokai down into that bottom lane if you want it to be there.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Yes.
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 Okay.
Bit better.
Okay.
Problem. Alistar's still up.
Yeah, I mean, the Alistar
Known as a
can
bit of a
just
counter.
stop the rel.
Yeah.
Every time the rel goes in, the rel goes back out.
So, Zeri
Yeah.
got double tank.
Mm-hmm.
Could we see Touch's Enchanter arc? Known as a bit of a Seraphine player as well.
I like this. I like this a lot out of Rosette. This is what they needed to round this composition out. I was kind of expecting it to be the Leona, the Alistar, and then I was going to say Ornn as a top laner. So something that gives you that long-range, non-committal engage, because Rel is very committal on that engage. I do like what Rosette have rounded this out with, but Unique... this is a much better angle for the Rakan. We've had quite a lot of angles today where being like, I don't think the Rakan was the call. In this one, it works a lot better. It works really well with the Zeri because you can keep up with her, leaping over a wall. You can work very well off of each other. And also, Maokai, Rakan, K'Sante. I like that as an engage option.
Not only that, but Touch's Rakan is very good.
Titan and Touch were a terrifying duo with the Zyrakan. That was a time watching that.
Yeah, that was scary.
That was really scary. It was good fun. I missed that bot lane.
Oh, gone are the days. Gone are the days. But alas, looking generally over the course of both the compositions, neither side really standing out as like a, yeah, okay, this... Again, Rosé, high ceiling of execution, but high floor of execution. Unique, only ever so slightly lower ceiling, but a much lower floor.
It's much easier.
It's a much easier to execute composition, right? So generally speaking, predictions-wise, and who has the easier time-wise, it's Unique. I'm inclined to say as much as well.
What does this Nidalee do? I think is the beginning, middle, and end of this. I really like every other part of this composition out of Ruza. If you put a slightly more standard jungler in that spot, kind of whatever flavor, an AP jungler, fine, okay, I'm happy with that. A tank jungler, wonderful.
Also fine,
a Xin Zhao, fine. All of that I would have been fine with. Kind of the only jungler that I wouldn't have loved in this situation is an assassin.
So you're looking at like Nidalee, Elise. You know, even Diana would have been fine here, but Nidalee and Elise are the two where you're kind of like...
Yeah, the Evelyn as well is the sort of tier of jungler where I'm like, I don't love that in this composition. That being said, if you can get ahead on the Nidalee, the amount of damage that you can lay down with the spears and the control you can get around an objective is huge. It's all about the early game. What can you do with this Nidalee? Can you get a couple of kills? Do you get yourself ahead? If so, with the rest of the composition that I really like, I think the Ruza could challenge. At the same time, we have to remember that we are looking at a team that hasn't been able to get things going as a complete unit, up against Unique, who team fight like bosses, and really have shown themselves to be that top tier of team in the league. They also need to keep getting wins, because beginning to lose right now, when there are a couple of teams, Rich Gang specifically, beginning to catch up, beginning to nip at their tails, they really need a win right here, and I think that fire under Unique is going to propel them to some great heights.
Certainly will. Now, one final question before we get into the game. Prediction.
I think Unique take this one, but I want to see Ruza take. Like, I want Ruza. I think it's Unique.
I think Unique. Yeah, okay, we're on the same page then. We are ready to get onto the Rift for game number 4, our final game of the day. Say hello to our little squirrel, rat, deer looking friend. And be ready and waiting for the teams to get themselves out on the map. Expecting any level 1 shenanigans this game, Mac?
You could potentially try to go for something as Ruza. Anytime there's a Rel on a squad, that's always a little bit of an option. It doesn't look like we're going to get anything too exciting right now. It could be a little bit of an invade for Vision from Unique and their bottom side, but I really don't think they're going to be trying to get anything too aggressive right now. You don't necessarily need it. Sure, I think you do want to accelerate this game a little bit. As Unique, I don't think you want to go too late on when you've got a Tristana Kai'Sa. That's a deadly combo. However, getting that going level 1, I don't think that's necessary.
No, not at all. No real rush for anything to be happening this game. For either side, really. Well, outside of, Nidalee hopefully getting some kind of lead. But even then, I don't think there's a major rush on that. I think just a little bit. As Anibot walking straight into the face of Dusty here. A bit of early trading. Pandas in the wings, but so has been I'm going to butcher this name so many times. I'm sorry. Bananiasti.
Yes, Bananiasti.
Try saying that 10 times fast.
No, thank you.
I can't.
No, thank you on that one. Looks like they are going to be starting towards these chickens, though. Pretty sound start for them. Maokai does always open you up to the opportunity to try get an early gank off either top or mid lane. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the look on this game specifically. Sure, the K'Sante can do quite a lot of damage to the Ornn, but not going to be that easy. Talking of a lot of damage, Touch, going to take a lot of damage right here. Touch specifically has been chunked out to about half health. This Rakan going to be blowing through some pots to try to get back to a good point in this lane. And that's what I want to be seeing out of Xnom and Baneo. You have got to get aggressive as early on as possible, because this Zeri hits a certain point where she's just so mobile. Once you use that Lightning Crash, it gets terrifying to try to play around.
Absolutely does, Bananino. Looking for something with that mount up. It's just going to be zoning off of the level 2 for now. Meanwhile, across the rest of the map, everything pretty quiet. Touch able to heal back up a good bit from that early exchange. As well as the fleet footwork for Dusty, allowing the same to happen in this mid lane. So for now, things just a little bit back and forth. The top lane going about as you would expect, Ornn into K'Sante. Bit of a wet noodle fight, bit of early trading, but outside of that, not too much going on.
So, let's talk about this Nidalee, as we are going to see Panda attempting to get a little bit of an invade going. Not going to work out. Banayasti is going to be able to get away, and despite the fact you do have the push from your bot lane, so they will be able to rotate up quicker, you don't want to get caught out in the enemy jungle at this point in the game, not when everybody's sat at level 2, level 3s, don't necessarily have all of the spells to work with. Instead, just going to head off. This Nidalee is super interesting. If you can hit constant spears, if you can get a couple of kills and then hit constant spears, it makes playing teamfights so incredibly difficult. And in a straight up 1v1, the amount of damage that Nidalee can do is insane. Nidalee is also very good at executing dives. That being said, there aren't necessarily the lanes that you would really be looking to play around. The Ornn doesn't have the best time into the K'Sante, especially early on, can get pushed in pretty heavily. We are seeing that, so there is a potential for the gank up there, but you don't necessarily have the damage to get through K'Sante early. Corki very slippery, same thing with a Rakan Zeri lane, which makes it a little bit tricky to try to find those early kills that you really need to get this Nidalee ahead. You're up against a Maokai who, even if he falls behind, will be useful anyway, can just pop down that ult, plus in a meta where that Warmogs is so incredibly strong, can build a good mix of the AP and the tanky stats, and just do work through the saplings and the ult, even without having to go for that all-in engage.
Not only that, but the Warmogs makes, poke that is very difficult to land if you aren't landing it consistently. It makes it null and these tanks as well, so very interesting to see how this game plays out as things go on. On one side, you've got a very heavy teamfight competition. On the other, you've got one to poke down and then look to pick off the lower targets, as you mentioned during Champion Select. For now, early objectives coming up very soon. Dragon about 30 seconds out. Grubs maybe a minute 30 on those as well. So what do you think we're going to see priorities for these teams?
Obviously, Panda trying to get some early kills. I also want to see some kills onto Anibot. I want to see some aggression. It is going to be the cold start, which is pretty standard on the Tristana at the moment. Getting you that early injection of gold is going to be incredibly important. But trying to play through Anibot feels like the best way to play for Ruza. We saw some games yesterday where you had both a Tristana and a Kai'Sa, but there was so much threat, so much backline dive. There was both a Vi and a Camille on the other team, so you just weren't able to survive. They picked either the Tristana or the Kai'Sa, said, hey, this is our person, killed them every single time, and it was so difficult for that team to play out those fights. There isn't the same level of backline dive necessarily. Sure, when there's a Cassante, he can always just walk into the backline and try to do what he needs to, but I don't know that you're going to be able to. Not when there's a Rel, not when there's an Ornn. Those are pretty good at just setting the front line, trying to be those protectors. And so I do wonder how effective you are going to be as Anibot and Exnom if you're able to get ahead a little bit, or just even, and then get those 2 to 3 items. That's the point at which Ruza can really play these team fights, and you do have that good early engage to try to get into the backline. I think it's a priority for Ruza to just get through the early game, maybe get some kills onto the Nidalee, and then begin to look for those fights. I think it's very different for Unique. I don't think there's quite as much pressure on Ban and Niasti to get things going early on, as Dusty was getting ganked, is going to be able to walk away though.
Topside just a bit of trading away. The grubs are now up and available. Looks like the Rosé are going to put their focus for now. Bunny Nasty going to be happy with that one. Able to get that first dragon down. Hextech, again, as we mentioned earlier in the day, best singles rate to have. So not going to be too upset. Cloud is the next on the list. So looking at, I believe, a different soul to what we've seen today. I mean, we've got potential for a Chemtech. What other souls have we had?
Chem. We had Chem.
Mountain.
We've had Mountain.
And I think that was an ocean. I don't think it was a cloud. I don't think it was an infernal.
No, definitely not an
wasn't
infernal.
a Hextech.
Don't think it was a Hextech.
I'm not sure. It might have been 2 Chemtechs. Maybe I'm going insane.
What's your favourite one? Not what you think's best. What's your favourite one to watch?
To watch is Chemtech.
Chemtech?
Yeah. The map
I
change
agree.
Is great.
I think the map change is excellent. The blasting plants are just so much fun.
Yeah, so fun. Just to travel halfway across the rift.
Ping yourself
for no
across
reason.
the map.
Yeah, just no real reason. You just suddenly appear in the enemy jungle after hitting one item. One plant. Niasti just clearing out a bit of vision. Panda also on this top side now. Touch towards its mid lane. Just seeing the supports start to unlock themselves. The AD carry's not in any real threat at current.
No, I mean, you can potentially try all in here as Exnom if you do get that full isolated Akathian Rain-off as the Kai'Sa. It does so much damage. And this is a trade I think we're going to see a lot. Yeah, that's the trade out of Anibot. You jump in, you're going to take a lot of damage off of that Gatling gun. Oh, Anibot may have made a mistake, is at least going to have another jump away. You jump in, you take a lot of damage off of the Gatling gun, but you're able to fully proc that bomb, gets you another jump out. Then you also can just proc yourself that ulti just to get that Dusty away from you, stop all of that damage from coming down from that Gatling gun. And it's a nice trade to do every time. It does lose you your ulti. It's a relatively short cooldown. You can see it's already a quarter of the way through being back up. And if you could just do that again and again and again, it just whittle away your opponent's health pretty effectively. That being said, if you miscalculate, if you mistime your jump, you can get killed whilst trying to make that play. And if you get engaged upon, you won't have the jump. Talking of engaged upon, Panda's just dead.
Panda does just die in their own jungle on the bot side. Niasti able to secure that one themselves with the help of Dusty. Now, we aren't really seeing too much happen from this point onwards. Just Deadhound moving to help with the invade while the wave is resetting and the bot lane has gone home to the side of Rosa. Anibot again jumping forward onto Dusty. Has to Valkyrie away. More so just because of the lack of mana, I would imagine. In that situation, doesn't want to just keep trying to trade for no reason.
That's the point of the trade, right? Sure, you get a nice amount of health, but it's also the fact that you end up playing a lot more mana as Dusty than you do as Anibot. You know, your spells cost just a little bit less. Dusty has no mana now.
Good flash forward from Banino. And Anibot jumping forwards. Flash away from Dusty is good. Panda now going a bit too deep, caught up under the tower. Bananiasti will end up taking that kill for themselves again to be 2-0 on this Maokai with the Fated Ashes, but Panda, it's not what you want to be doing in this situation.
That is not even slightly what you're trying to look for, and this is the unfortunate pressure that gets put on an Italy. You need to get things going early. You don't end up finding it and giving away 2 kills already. Both of them going to Bananiasti, which I guess isn't the end of the world. You'd be a lot more worried if they were on the Zeri or the Corki. Exnom going to get engaged upon. Nice sidestep to get away from that grand entrance. Is going to take a good chunk of damage, but not going to be the end of the world, even dodging away from that final little laser. I like that sidestep out of Exnom. I know we said we wanted to see some proactivity out of Panda, and we do, but giving away all of these kills is worse for your team than just not being proactive and at least farming up in your jungle, keeping things even, because the rest of the team composition can work, can go all in and find some effective plays, not if you've given over a bunch of kills. So I just would like to see Panda chill out a little bit.
The only saving grace that has gone on to Maokai, who isn't really going to be a massive damage threat throughout the game come pass, as you say, is going a little bit into the AP, so it's going to be able to do a little bit of chip damage. But generally speaking, you would be more upset if these kills were going on to Dusty or Deadhound, right? It's not necessarily the end of the world for the side of Ruze, but this does mean that the pressure for this second dragon very much in the favor of Unique here. So we will find out what the Soul Dragon is when this goes down. See Ruze moving in, but 4 members strong already. Cloud Dragon will fall. The mountain shall rise as we get the Mountain Rift.
It's not
forth.
new. It's not new. I'm disappointed.
It's not new. It's very sad.
Could have had the Infernal.
Could have had the Infernal. Could have had the Hex Tech. No, we couldn't. Cloud. I think it might have been a Cloud Soul earlier, to be fair.
Yeah, and I mean,
Oh,
it could have been Infernal. That's the one I was excited for, potentially. Having
Yeah.
extra damage on a lot of these champions would have been huge. Obviously, Mountain gives you some extra walls, which can be pretty good. Honestly, with a lot of these mobile champions, you can play around them. Ornn obviously loves some extra walls to get some more stuns going through, so potentially this one could change the makeup of this matchup just a little bit, as much as any Drake map can. I'm going to see an engage onto these grubs, and it would be all 6 for Ruze if they're able to pick this one up, which it looks like they are going to be able to. There's no real response out of anybody on Unique.
It's a real concern.
Yeah.
They're Tristana.
They just melt towers. Tristana has a real hatred of towers, and this is a composition that won't struggle with pushing quite as badly. There is some decent wave clear, sure, on the side of Unique, but it's not like Ruze are a super short range composition. They're not going to be able to step up to these towers, and with all 6 of the grubs available, that is going to be that much easier. Obviously, the cost of that has been those 2 Drakes going over to Unique, so that later game scaling is going to be there. But still, I don't think that Ruze have had the worst time of it in this early game. They are down by 1,500 gold though, so you know, it's not been ideal. Let's see if they can find a proactive play here, potentially. Archfiend is in a lane with Exdom. And, you know, gonna go in, gonna get a stun, but, I mean, this is a pretty tanky Kasate.
Yeah, the Sunfire Aegis already finished. Bananiasti sitting in the wings. Panda able to land the spear, so something could go down here. There's the Magnet Storm crash down. Push back under the tower. Tanking up the tower is Benino. Will just fall to Bananiasti. Now you see the rest of the fight come down. Exnom all outed away. Has to use Cure Instinct for safety. Panda just dies to Deadhound. And Exnom falling as well. 4-0 now for Bananiasti on the Maokai, as well as the first kill of the game for Deadhound. Mid tower is going to take a lot of damage, and a lot of plates going across to Anibot, but you've just lost your jungler, your AD carry, and your support on the top side.
And that's just, it's just going wrong, unfortunately, for Ruze. And this is what you would really expect from the team at the top of the standings, up against the team at the bottom of the standings. Unique, they're just a little bit cleaner with it. Their players seem to be a little bit stronger at the moment. It's not all bad. You have an Ornn, you have a good late game scaling composition, but you've given 4 kills over. A Leandri's already completed for Bananiasti, isn't even needing to go towards the Warmogs early on, I don't think. Gonna be more than happy to pick up a little bit of extra AP. I mean, you kind of need it on this team composition. Don't want to give the easy magic resist builds over to the Ruze members. And you can just be slightly more proactive right now with this Maokai, because of how far ahead you are, you know? Full completed item in a great spot. Panda doesn't have a completed item, just isn't doing a lot of damage at the moment and hasn't quite been able to find those initial engage points. And unlike with a traditional jungler, who when you fall behind you still give some sort of benefit to your team, unfortunately, if you're not dealing massive damage and one-shotting people with spears, you lose a lot of the pressure and a lot of the point of picking Nidalee.
You turn into a heal bot more often than not, as this Nidalee is not the greatest champion to fall behind on. No, they're really not. It's not easy to play from behind as a Nidalee, but it has been done in the past.
Yes.
See if it can be done in this game. Taking stock of the situation, 5-0 for the side of Unique. Very happy with the situation they find themselves in. Lane swaps coming through. First tower still yet to fall, but could at any moment. The Herald is in favor of Bananiasti though, so we expect first tower to go across to the side of Unique. Dragon up in 30 seconds. We'll see who wants to try to contest that. Panda moving into this mid lane, potentially looking onto Deadhound. Isn't able to land the spear. So just stepping back. Uko moving in towards this mid lane. The saplings are starting to hurt so much.
They really are. The amount of burn that you can do. And we talked about how there was a lot of poke potentially for Ruze, and there still is between a Nidalee, who has now completed that Lich Bane, and a Kai'Sa. At the same time, though, if you can poke out with these saplings and all of the Corki rockets, it's very easy to play out these team fights. We are going to see an engage here, potentially. Big Magnet Storm, that's huge.
Big Magnet Storm from Bananino. From Benino. Touch already dead, but now the rest of the team has arrived. Deadhound's lightning crashes down. X not flying into the back line, but for what? My friend, there's nothing left for you. Benino next on the list.
Goes.
The health bars are just too low. Deadhound running down with Archfiend. The lightning crash has run out. The dragon will be turned on. Spear lands, but there's no real damage left to try and kill this Cassante. Unique just get away with absolute murder on Ruze. Well, they get one, they lose two, and give over soul points 17 minutes into the game.
This game's a little bit closer in terms of gold. That engage could have been that much bigger. It was really good out of Benino. The follow-up as well with that Ornhorn helped out from Uko, but you couldn't quite land it onto the two members, not able to get those 2 kills, and like you said, unfortunately, everybody goes flying into the back line. Not gonna work out, and when you're so far ahead as Unique, feels pretty good to have this game going as it is. Top lane tower also going to fall. Mid lane tower very, very low. Drake goes over to Unique too, so they are in a very comfortable position in this game. About 5,000 gold ahead at the 17-minute mark. Obviously, we've got a little while until the Baron is going to be spawning. Potentially another fight, though, as you're just going to jump right on top of Touch. Obviously, has the Grand Entrance to get away. Now, Archfiend is surrounded by quite a lot of enemies. Everybody just going to be able to walk this one out, though. A lot of very mobile champions in that fight. I don't think anybody here doesn't have some kind of hop or dash over a wall. And so you sort of exchange a couple of rockets, have a bit of a poke, and then everybody just going to walk away from this one. With these objective bounties available and a 400 gold shutdown onto Bananiasti, there's a chance for Ruze to get back into this game, and their teamfight composition could work out. They've just got to find the correct moment to go in, and it's very hard to find that correct moment when there are so many mobile champions that can leap away.
It really is. We can see Bananiasti looking towards this top side with Archfiend. Benino's here as well now. Anibot just not really able to lay the damage down onto Archfiend like they would want, even with that Blade of the Ranking completed. Bot tower did fall during that time, though. In favor of Ruze.
Yeah,
so it's a small saving grace.
Indeed, they're gonna pick themselves up a kill onto a tower. They're gonna... They also did get a kill. They're only 4,000 gold behind. It's really not as bad as it potentially feels like at 1 and 7. A lot of your gold, a lot of your kills being on the Maokai makes this feel a little bit closer as well. If we could potentially have a look at the gold right now, well, we've got a little bit before we go. Obviously, there's a canyon of difference between these junglers. Everyone else, though, is relatively even. Bot lane is pretty even. Mid lane, there's a small advantage. Top lane, there's a small advantage. But it's not complete gaps right now, other than in the jungle. So if you can potentially kill Bananiasti and then start your fight off that way, that's a way to really play this game.
Certainly is, but you can see the safety which the unique members are playing with. Makes it so difficult to catch them. Deadhound on towards this top side, just shoving waves and looking for something. Baron spawning in 3 seconds. Now Arcfiend just going to keep clearing waves into Uko here. 2 minutes and 20 seconds until the next dragon. So I'm looking at anything massive happening anytime soon unless Unique decide they want to really try for an early Baron and just end this game out in 25-30 minutes.
It would be a very unique way of playing this game.
Xnom.
Okay, bye-bye. Wait.
Oh, good cleanse. Is able to get away for now.
Ooh.
But that will just allow the turn onto the Baron. You can see things coming down already. Killer Instinct and Cleanse used. Didn't have to flash, but the Killer Instinct and the Cleanse were used.
Yeah.
Next time this Kai'Sa steps forward, she will just fall. Granted, Lightning Crash was used there. That was the only thing that was used there for the side of Unique. So everything else is still available.
Baron going down well below half health.
Quickly.
Panda's in the area.
They've just peeled off it. They decided to go for the fight. Benino caught out now. TP ring from Darkfiend. Arcfiend is good. Benino will fall to Arcfiend. Uko now on the backside. Touch burning, but it might not be enough. The damage is just good. A good Buster Shot will knock 2 away. Touch now looking onto the backside of the fight. Deadhound and Dusty on one side. Arcfiend on the other. Being kited out by Panda and Xnom. Uko will fall, now just trying to get away. Panda jumping forward, picked up their first kill of the game. Now Dusty jumping in, Deadhound looking for something. It's not quite enough. The fight, it looked like it could be good, and it just ended in disaster for Unique.
Yeah, Unique, they weren't able to find anywhere near as many kills as you would expect for how far ahead they are right now. I think part of it is the fact that they got so split up. Obviously, you usually want your Cassante in the backline trying to kill people, but you're being kited around by Xnom and Panda, and they do quite a lot of damage at this point, especially that 2-item Kai'Sa. Gonna be doing work. We do have the next Drake spawning, though, in 30 seconds' time. Baron doesn't fall. That's going to be huge for Ruza. They need to keep this game going for as long as possible to try to get themselves to that ornament point. Only one more level until we're going to get that first one for Uko. So we are going to unfortunately jump into a pause as somebody's had a little bit of a technical issue. Still 20 seconds before this Drake is a pretty critical point in this game. If you manage to get yourself that Mountain Soul as Unique, it is so tricky to get any kills, especially as this Nidalee, but kind of for anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. 6 seconds on the Dragon, though. Unique have full control, it would seem. Got Touch sitting by the pit. All it needs is this mid-wave to get shoved out and Unique to start shifting down. Or a catch onto someone here in the near future. Arcfiend look not able to find it just yet. You've got multiple angles of engage. Void Seeker doesn't land. And now we see the Dragon
on the
started.
flank.
Benino does have the flank here. Might not be enough. The damage dealers are kept separate. Deadhound and Dusty now stacked up on each other. They suspect something. Benino's gone in, but only finds it onto Arcfiend, and the return engage. Bananiasti is insane. Ready, dead. Deadhound is traded across, but now Bananino falls. Panda falls. Uko running for the hills against Touch should fall as well. Anibot just running for the hills. The jumps are good, but it's just not enough. Dusty will keep them out of the fight. Has to run between towers here. Will go down. The Dragon will be secured. It is Soul now for Unique in a 4-for-1 fight that basically just completely solidifies their lead.
Yeah, indeed, it is going to be Soul, and that's a huge one to pick up. It was already a couple of low health bars that you just weren't able to finish off as Ruza, and having that Mountain Soul does not help in that situation. It just leaves you so unable to pick up that initial kill, which you really need. And it was a really good setup out of Ruza, but they're so far behind at this point. They're down the 3 Drakes, and you're not able to get the combo going that you really need. What you really need is Bananino to get into the backline, get that Magnustorm off, and at the same time, you hit multiple people with that Ornhorn. But the Call of the Forge God happens way too late. It's been multiple fights in a row where it just hasn't been procced at the right time, and the engage is disjointed. It doesn't land onto the correct members. The Magnustorm doesn't hit onto any of those key priority targets. Unfortunately, team fighting just isn't a strength of Ruza, and it is the exact opposite for Unique.
It certainly is, as we see that first ornament come in onto the static Shiv there. Kai'Sa. probably your biggest damage dealer at present is Unique. They're just starting the Baron. It's not on vision. It is being pinged on. Touch, keeping everybody out. Bananiasti dropping the ultimate there. The TP on the flank from Arcfiend is good. As it looks like Uko just caught in between everybody. Gets the knock up onto 2. Will have to just give their life. And now Unique are not afraid to just turn back to the Baron. The Lightning Crash was used. But again, only the Lightning Crash and the Nature's Grasp were really the big cooldowns used there. So a fight is still very much on the cards for Unique if Rose step too close forwards.
Yeah, indeed. You can try for a fight here as Rose, but it's going to have a huge engage out of Benino. Archfiend is behind as well. This could be disastrous.
Archfiend has been caught on the ward, dashing forward onto this Cassante. Is able to find a couple, ulting onto Benino. The damage is good, but it is just there. There's the catch on through with Magnet Storm, but it's just too late. Deadhound will be the next one to fall, but Dusty still alive, putting down so much damage. Xnom dashing forward. The Baron got stolen away by Panda.
Annie's got resets. Annie's got resets.
Annie has got resets. Dusty's alive now, but Niasti jumping forward. So much damage. Arcfiend is still alive. It's so much damage. He's just dead. Uko and Panda are the only ones left alive with this Baron. Uko full health, so we'll just be able to chase them around. But Dusty and Bananiasti get out. Those are the big members you need to keep alive. They have this shut down. The TP back in from Dusty here will mean Uko should fall as well, which means you've got one Baron left, and it's on Panda. And Nidalee is not where you want it. Oh, no. The flash just not getting over the wall as well secures the fate of Uko there.
God, trying to chase around a Cassante is just truly miserable. There was a little bit of a fumble right there out of Unique. Unique really are not an infallible top team in this league whatsoever. They just leave the Baron, but it doesn't reset, meaning that you're able to run straight back into that fight as Panda and just steal it away nice and easy. There was no smite anywhere nearby that Baron. And so it's a great pickup out of Ruse. It's going to delay this game a little bit more. It keeps them relatively close still in terms of the gold, only about 3,000, but it just feels like they're not quite able to team fight in the same way, and then a little over-aggression out of Uko means that you're not anywhere near the fight now, having to respawn now and come out onto the map. And there are 2.5 minutes until we have this Elder Dragon. The Elder Dragon is potentially going to be the thing that Unique look towards to try to close out this game. They would have liked it to be the Baron. That's not going to work out, unfortunately. We've got a very big push going on for Anibot in the top lane. That does, however, open up Unique to try to get an engage off.
Flash forward onto Xnom from Bananiasti. Now looking for something. The flash away is good as well, but now under the tower, everybody is caught in skill shot alley, and Deadhound left. But next up is Benino. It's a double kill for Deadhound, sniffing out his prey with ease. Now, Anibot's still pushing through this top side, but the mid push is good as well. Arcfiend going to reset to deal with this push. There's no Baron there to be dealt with. Meanwhile, this mid tower should be forfeit. Uko not really able to hold it, especially with no real damage with you either. You can see Unique moving as a unit, moving as a group. Minute 30 until its Elder Dragon is alive. You cannot afford another slip-up like that if you are Ruse.
No, you really, really cannot. Not closer to the time, otherwise you will just lose that incredibly powerful buff. That should be the thing Unique need to be able to close this game out. They are in firm control of this one, as it felt like they have been from the very beginning. Taking a quick look in at the gold as well, and the gaps between all of these players are not as big as you really would expect. Not as big as it really feels like, other than in the top lane. The gold is pretty close, but it's just small advantages across the board. Uko gonna go in, lands the knock-up onto Bananiasti. Losing your jungler here would be big.
There's a lot of damage going down. The Ignite's been dropped, but he just doesn't die. The TP back in from Arcfiend is good. Deadhound has to get away, but Dusty is still there, still doing so much damage. Now Arcfiend is in the back of the fight. Uko first to fall. Next up is Xnom, stepping too far forward, and Anibot's next on the list. It might not even need the Elder for Unique.
They're going to be able to push forwards onto that one. Another convincing team fight win. And that's the thing that Unique are so good at. Even if they have scrappy games, in the end, they're always going to get a couple more kills than you in the team fights and compound that into victory after victory. They are going to go for this Elder buff. Panther does live, so they could potentially try to get into this pit, pick up a steal. It's going to be such a risk, and I would have to imagine that Touch, Archfiend, should be able to get over the wall. Stop this one from happening. It's going to go down very, very quickly right here. The second that Dusty starts hitting this,
Yeah.
and Panda's not in the area, this is going to be the Elder Dragon 4 Drake buff going over to Unique. Let's see what they can do with that.
Given how they've been playing, could be one fight into game's end. We shall see. Baron.
Just walk it down mid, potentially.
Yeah, Baron not up for a minute 50, so you have no reason to be elsewhere on the map as things stand. Just pick a lane and run down it as a team. You've got a solid setup. We saw in that last fight, Bananiasti, Core didn't matter. The damage just isn't there, and the collapse from Unique is already insane. Time will tell. The only saving grace for Rosé, Deadhound still doesn't have that Infinity Edge.
Yeah, that is... it's a small victory, but it is something at this point, although, you know, it's going to be there relatively soon if this game carries on. Maybe it won't even need to happen. You just can't fight right now. Rosé have been losing these fights even without the Elder buff being available. They're going to pop a couple of ults to try to clear away this wave. It just doesn't work, though.
The Nature's Grasp is beautiful to stop the return on that Ornhorn. That could have been a fight start that you did not want. Arcfiend taking a bit of damage on the bot side, but now the rest of Unique can start to shift. As long as this wave crashes, another tower, another inhibitor should be open. And once you've got two waves coming in, it's very hard to deal with once you've got the Elder to think about as well. TP top from Anibot, just looking to try and trade for something. Force the response out of Dusty, which means your damage now is a little bit split. Dusty, definitely a terrifying force to be reckoned with. Anibot just jumping away, but that is double TPs used, and you now don't have your Tristana. Anibot looking for something. The damage is good, but the damage return...
The burn? Oh, they live,
the burn doesn't quite tick it, but you are running into 4 members of Unique. Will Anibot get seen out at all? Looking.
This is a Mission Impossible level heist right now out of Anibot.
But the Baron is up and available.
I genuinely think that's still a dub out of Annie. I think that's genuinely still a win out of Anibot with the state of this game. Just stopping the base from ending. That game should have ended just then. You are going to lose another Baron, but I think you're going to lose that one anyway, and you at least live to fight a little bit longer.
Problem is, now they didn't need to end the game with the Elder. Opening the inhibs is plenty enough. Now you run in with 2 Baron-empowered waves. There's nothing that can be done.
I don't think there's any good options for Rosé in this game. What are you checking? The Baron's...
Baron's gone.
Baron is very, very gone at this point. Maybe you need to set up a Death Brush or something. I don't even know if you manage to win this one out. I do think that the chances of winning this one are super slim.
And caught out by a Bananiasti into the knock-up touch. It's just that clean. And there is the ultimate from Deadhound. Anibot is next on Benino. Third, it's a double kill for Deadhound, and 3 are dead. The flash forward from Deadhound, he wants more. Xnom has to flash away with the wave crashing in mid lane. Unique. It was clean, it was cool, it was calm, it was collected, and it was calculated. Uko just going to call the Forge God to try for something. Xnom putting a lot of damage down. Touch going very, very low. Xnom does manage to trade that one, but does fall. And with him falls the hopes of taking down the Titan that is Unique. Moving to 7-1 off the back of the day. A beautifully played game and a beautifully executed composition.
Unique managing to keep that little bit of a buffer that they have between themselves and Rich Gang and the rest of the chasing pack. A very dominant victory from the very beginning to the very end. It felt like the top versus bottom team.
Yes.
There was no real situation in that game where I was like, yes, I think that Unique are going to lose this one. It really didn't feel like that. It's really unfortunate for Rosé after they did manage to pick themselves up a victory yesterday that they have now lost 2 more games on the bounce. The team just is not gelling, unfortunately. They will have to continue scrapping to try to get themselves off of the bottom of the table. Obviously, most of the teams in this league do go on to the playoffs, so there's always a chance them, Fourth Wall, Lazy, there are plenty of teams on the bottom end of this one that, maybe you can try pick yourself up. But still, it's not an ideal situation. Either way, Unique do look like the strongest team that we've got, and that was a pretty dominant victory to do it with. And I mean, what a set of games, honestly. All of these have been so crazy, and I think that was a nice cap to the day. One that you could probably have predicted from the start, rather than the crazy matchups we've seen elsewhere.
Absolutely. And with that, we're going to throw it to a short break. When we come back, we will have an interview with one of the Unique members to find out just how that game went for them. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon. Welcome back, everybody, for the final interview of the day with Dan Holt, the coach for Unique. How's it going? Congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
That's what we like to hear. Now, we'll make this nice and quick for you. Starting out with coming into the draft in this game. Of course, you guys, top of the table, not really, too threatened by one of the lower table teams. Is there anything you were concerned about coming into draft, or was it kind of just smooth?
For me personally, nothing, because I don't have to deal with draft. Whereas you had the head coach on yesterday, so yesterday he did, and I think he did a really good job today. He was discussing a few things and asked me a couple of questions, but I think he handled draft really well. And I was saying to him afterwards, I think we came out with a good draft. There was a couple of options we could have changed, but I think it was really good in terms of the draft. So yeah, very happy.
Perfect. And I am usually permitted 2 questions, but I think I'm going to take a third one. Just quickly, tell me about your suit, because I love the dress right here. This is excellent.
Well, you got to respect the game, And the guys asked me to do an interview. They were like, could you do interviews today? I think Dead Ham was meant to be doing it. He didn't want to do it, and then he was like, "Oh, you want dress up in a suit as well." So gotta respect the game. Dress up in a suit. Players ask it, then you have to go for it.
Absolutely, and I mean, it looks amazing, impeccably dressed. I love that. It's showing both of us up here in our t-shirts. I mean,
yeah, you guys gotta get on it. Come on, man, you gotta get your shirts on.
Hang on.
Next stream, I want to see it.
I don't feel like. What is that?
There we go.
Is that?
There we go. Yeah, there we go. That's it. I like
the
it.
plaid shirt.
You got the shout. Nice one.
Amazing. Either way, obviously, you've got to be very, very proud of your team for the way that they played in today's matchup. Coming into today, was there any point at which you were particularly worried? Obviously, Ruse have not had the best split so far, but what were you thinking about coming into today's matchup?
I mean, we just focus on ourselves, really. Like this regular season, most important thing is get us in a really, really good spot. Yesterday, obviously, we didn't particularly play there was one portion of the game I was really proud of the guys with, like 2 or 3 minutes. We were working really hard at it, and yesterday they absolutely smashed it. But then there was some plays which we should know that we shouldn't do that, and then we did it anyway. So, but today was much better. Obviously the Baron was a little bit different, but I think we were trying to do the right things in almost the whole game, which was really, really good to see. And now it's just about making sure that we not just try to do it, but actually achieve the right things, which is really, really good. But yeah, this was much better today than it was yesterday. So yeah. It was, and like I said, in regular season, you're really looking to get yourself in the right spot and try and get yourself, rather than looking at opponents. Once you get to playoffs, then okay, right, how do we exploit this guy, or what strategy do we choose against these people? What's going to work the best?
Absolutely. I think it's really the difference between the best of one and the best of series, where you can actually look at your opponents. Talking about focusing on yourself, I really like that. So what does that look like from a unique perspective? What do you guys do between these games? Obviously, it was a quick turnaround from yesterday to today. What do you look at to try to improve on the mistakes maybe you made yesterday and make sure you don't repeat them today's matchup?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different because it's sort of amateur, and our guys have got things going on. Touch got a full-time job. Guys got other stuff going on. So it's not like in Div 1 where you get to practice. Maybe you scrim 4 or 5 times and you get 5 games in each scrim, Mm-hmm. So you don't actually have a lot of time. I think we had 6 scrim games this week. So I try to also do stuff that's the players can come to and find in their own time, right? So you might tomorrow, for instance, we're not scrimming, but some of the players are playing in the morning, some will have to play in the evening, things like that. So it's trying to review the game, but in a way that they can access it straight away, access it on their own time. Answer any questions, things like that. I'll use a lot of screenshots and clips and show the clip and go, okay, this is how we should have played this area. Post that on the Discord, and then they can find it in their own time and have a look. Obviously, they work in their solo queue and things like that. Whereas I asked them to practice champions and solo queue and on their own time and things like that. And then going into scrims, just making sure that we are as prepared as possible. I'm not in every scrim, whereas is not in every scrim. He's also got a full-time job, so it's making sure that the guys going into the scrim, meet 15 minutes before, know exactly what they're going to do in the scrim, go practice that thing in the scrim, and try to make an improvement. Because I think it's very easy to just fall into the trap of just turn up on time, or for me late, but on time for the scrim. You play, you go, you get into draft, you go, okay, what are we doing today? What do we draft it? And then you don't make any progress to do it. So I think those 6 games, although it's not very many, you have to make the most out of them. I think that's really, really important, and that's been, I think, key to our success, is making sure that we make the most out of the time that we do have.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the last question I'll ask, I've asked every other team today if they're confident in playoffs, but I don't feel like I need to ask you that. Unique, currently sitting at the top of the table, playoffs pretty much all but a guarantee for you guys at this point. So I'll ask a slightly different question. Do you think you can carry on the rest of the season, 2 playoffs, only sitting at 1 loss?
I think that's probably unlikely based off of how we've played. Obviously, that's the goal, and we're going to try it. Every game will come in, and we'll try to. But I think based on the way that we played, we made mistakes in some of the games, and okay, we didn't quite get punished enough. But I think the other teams are doing the same, right? They're also trying to improve. They're also trying to look at us. I think if I'm another team, this is the game I'm prepping for. It's Unique, So whereas I said most of the time you're focusing on yourself, for Unique, you might go, actually, okay, let's do a bit of prep against them. Let's make sure we play against them. So I think both of those 2 things combined, obviously players as well, players' mentality. When they play top of the league, they want to win, they bring it on that day, you know. So I think it's hard to do. But the most important thing, whether we win or lose, is to make sure that we finish top, that we get good seeding for playoffs. Take one game at a time, you know, and just keep winning games, and the rest will take care of itself. I think the key for us is like looking forward as well, is making sure that we win playoffs to make sure we get into the promotion tournament, because we don't have the championship points, so we have to win playoffs really to guarantee that we will get to the promotion tournament.
That's fair enough. It's a very humble answer as well. I can think of a fair few players who would come in and say, yeah, absolutely, we'll be fine. So thank you for the time. Once again, congratulations on the win. We'll be saying goodbye to you, but me and Max will be here for a couple of minutes longer, just while we say goodbye to everybody else. But thank you, and once again, congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
And that's it. That's the day done. It's the week done. We are done for now. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you, Max, for joining me today. And thank you to production and Casual Cutie for making everything work just a little bit prettier than it otherwise would have done. And of course to the league admins in the games as well. Anything else you wanted to say, Max?
What a crazy set of games we've had.
Yeah.
Honestly, yesterday into today, oh boy, I know that we both also have a full weekend, so it just does not start with the League of Legends. Just such a great time of year, especially, you know, this is the sort of ramp-up period right before Worlds. Obviously, the lower leagues don't do that, but it's such a fun time at the moment where everything is sort of coming to a close for a lot of these different leagues. And we've been having some just truly crazy games. The 40-50 minute banger yesterday. Today's last game wasn't as much of that one, but we nearly had another Smolder just go the distance, try to take the game on. I love what we've got in the NLC Div 2 at the moment, with some picks that you're like, yep, this is the standard, and then sometimes it's so out of left field you don't even slightly see it coming. The Zyra jungle was amazing. I'm just enjoying it so much. So, you know, thank you very much to everybody for watching, but oh boy, it's a lot.
Yeah, it has been quite the day of games, quite the week of games, and we'll be back next week, I believe, possibly. I'm not sure what the schedule's looking like.
Thursday, Fridays.
But, yes, normally Thursday, Fridays, if we have any games for you. They will be here, ready and waiting. So once again, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you all next week. Take care, everyone.